Chapter 295. There are many people who want to kill me. Wan Tuyo's eyes flashed with coldness as he sneered. However, Wan Tuyo, am still alive after so many years. Moreover, I am still alive and well. You're called Hua? It seems that there will be another life under my saber. On Heavenly Rock Island, he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. He could only fight. After thinking it through, Wan Tuyo didn't care about anything else. In his eyes, there was only one opponent. Tung Qingshan, how dare you? Tung Qingshan grinned and stomped on the ground, dashing towards Wan Tuyo, who was at the checkpoint. The dark blaze rod in his hand transformed into a black flowing light and pierced towards Wan Tuyo's chest. Wan Tuyo moved nimbly and stared at Tung Qingshan like an eagle. The scimitar in his hand easily blocked this rod strike. Phew! Phew! With a few flashes, the two arrived at the top of the mountain. The two experts had the same idea. They wanted to find a quiet place and fight to their heart's content. Hoo-ha! Watch my air-splitting eagle saber. Wan Tuyo laughed insolently as he dodged nimbly and swiftly. The curved blade in his hand was like the sharp claws of an eagle as it pounced towards Tung Qingshan again and again. Every time it pounced, it would cause a mountain-shattering and earth-shattering explosion. The shockwaves caused by the explosions even spread in all directions. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere, trees were broken, and some large rocks rolled down and smashed onto the soldiers who were fighting below. Boralimu, who was supervising the battle below, raised his head and saw that the two were equally matched. This caused Boralimu to frown as he thought to himself, "What is Brother Hua doing? Putting everything else aside, how can that Wan Tuyo easily block the power of his rod?" In the past, Boralimu was sent flying by Tung Qingshan time and time again. Boralimu was very clear about Tung Qingshan's terrifying offensive power. Phew! Wan Tuyo moved like a ghost, and his saber art was swift and fierce. He performed his strongest technique, the air-splitting eagle saber. One move after another, and the power grew stronger. Wan Tuyo couldn't help but let out a long howl as he performed the technique to his heart's content. Many soldiers of Snowhawk Hall who were guarding the checkpoint could not help but cheer when they saw this. "Brother Hua, why are you playing with him? Why aren't you killing him?" Boralimu roared from below. "Play." Wan Tuyo was startled. Tung Qingshan used pure physical strength to execute the Transmutation Unity Law staff technique to defend against Wan Tuyo's attack. When Tung Qingshan heard the shouts from below, he laughed lightly. "Wan Tuyo, your saber art is really very ordinary." No wonder he couldn't enter the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. Suddenly, the staff technique, which was already extremely powerful, suddenly increased in power. Clang! Wan Tuyo only felt a terrifying force being transmitted over from the collision. Ooh! The scimitar in his hand was sent flying, and the web between his thumb and forefinger of his right hand was split open, dripping with blood. Previously, Tung Qingshan had only used his physical strength, which was close to 800,000 gene of strength. Wan Tuyo naturally felt carefree when he fought. However, once Tung Qingshan used the internal supreme force, his explosive strength immediately increased by 400,000 gene, reaching a terrifying 1,200,000 gene. One must know that in a fight between experts, if one side's strength increased by 5%, it would be the last straw that broke the camel's back. However, Tung Qingshan's attack suddenly increased by 50%. Wan Tuyo was not Boralimu. Plus, he was caught off guard, and the scimitar in his hand was sent flying. No, Wan Tuyo's facial expression changed drastically. As his strength increased and sent Wan Tuyo's weapon flying, Tung Qingshan turned and thrust the dark blaze rod in his hand. Wan Tuyo wanted to escape, but it was too late. How could the speed of a human body be faster than the speed of a weapon? Pooh! The dark blaze rod directly pierced into Wan Tuyo's abdomen, where his dantian was located. No! Wan Tuyo let out a blood-curdling screech, but his innate true origin was easily penetrated by the head of the dark blaze rod. Poochie! The head of the rod pierced through his abdomen, and fresh blood flowed out. Since the dark blaze rod pierced through his dantian was obviously crippled. All of Juan Tuyo's cultivation was lost. Aye. All of Juan Tuyo's courage and insanity instantly disappeared without a trace. Without strength, he didn't even have the ability to retaliate. Feeling a pain in his throat, Juan Tuyo looked at the person in front of him in shock and anger. Tung Qingshan clutched Juan Tuyo's throat and pulled him in front of him. He said softly, "Juan Tuyo, do you realize that I look like someone you know?" It was no wonder that Juan Tuyo didn't recognize Tung Qingshan. This was because when he was at the Great Yin Mountain, the Tung Qingshan that he saw was wearing makeup. Juan Tuyo's facial expression changed drastically. You heard it. Tung Qingshan revealed a smile. At this moment, Tung Qingshan's voice had already changed to the voice he used when he was disguised as Qin Lang at the Great Yin Mountain. No, that's impossible. Juan Tuyo widened his eyes in shock. He couldn't believe that the Tung Qingshan, who could only hide behind Zhuge Yuanhong and flee all over the world, could actually kill him face to face in just half a year. The Golden Dan innate expert, Tung Qingshan, cultivated the branch of internal martial art. Actually, he couldn't be judged by the realm of Taoism. However, it could be said that, in terms of strength, the current Tung Qingshan was indeed at the level of the Golden Dan innate expert. Tung Qingshan was only 18 years old. An 18-year-old Golden Dan innate expert? Juan Tuyo's heart was filled with fear. An 18-year-old Golden Dan innate expert was unprecedented in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. He will definitely reach the emptiness realm in the future if he wants to retaliate against my Snow Hawk Hall. The more Juan Tuyo thought, the more afraid he became. You are Tung. Juan Tuyo was just about to say it. Tung Qingshan tightened his grip on Juan Tuyo's throat, causing Juan Tuyo's face to immediately turn red. Tung Qingshan chuckled and said, "It's good that you guessed it. I'm not a kind person. I remember the faces of those bastards clearly. You will only be the first to die." Tung Qingshan tightened his grip. Crack. Huff. Huff. Juan Tuyo's eyes widened as blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. Only now did he understand what kind of terrifying monster did the Supreme Sex offend during the battle at the Great Yin Mountain. How he wished he could tell the Supreme Sex to quickly send their top experts to kill this monster to prevent future troubles. However, he didn't have the chance. At the moment of death, Juan Tuyo could faintly see the bloody storm that Tung Qingshan would create in the land of the 9 prefectures in the future. An 18-year-old Golden Dan innate expert. In another 10 years, 20 years, or even 30 years, what level would he reach? In the future, it would be a catastrophe for the many sects in the land of the 9 prefectures. A true catastrophe. Perhaps, among the 8 supreme sects, there would be sects that would be completely annihilated in the catastrophe that Tung Qingshan would create in the future. However, no one knew. Those sects had no idea what happened on a small island in the distant North Sea. Humph. Tung Qingshan loosened his grip, and Juan Tuyo's corpse fell to the ground powerlessly. Roar! Kill! Kill! Waves of frenzied battle cries came from below. Because of Juan Tuyo's death, the soldiers of Snow Hawk Hall lost their last bit of confidence. All the soldiers of Snow Hawk Hall fled frantically. As for the soldiers of the God of Heaven Mountain, they chased after them frantically. Tung Qingshan stood on top of a mountain rock and watched the battle happening below in silence. Phew! A white divine eagle swooped down and landed beside Tung Qingshan. Li Jun, who was dressed in light green armor, jumped down and smiled like a flower. She lowered her voice and asked, "Big Brother Tung, what did you say to Juan Tuyo just now?" Seeing Li Jun's mischievous expression, Tung Qingshan felt as if he could see his wife, Kitten, from his previous life competing with him in internal martial arts. After losing, Kitten acted shamelessly. "What are you looking at?" Li Jun blushed slightly. "I just thought of something." Tung Qingshan hastily answered and changed the topic. "Little Jun, the matter here is over. I will immediately inform Borlimu and the others, and then we will set sail." "You're not eating together?" Li Jun was startled. Let's leave after the celebratory feast. No. Tung Shan shook his head. Seeing Tung Shan's expression, Li Jun felt very upset. She cherished every minute and second that she could spend with Tung Shan, but no matter what, the day of setting sail had arrived. She couldn't stop it at all. Facing all of this made her feel powerless. Big brother Tung, Li Jun said softly. Eh? Tung Shan stared at her. Li Jun stared at Tung Shan and asked, Big brother Tung, do you still remember the letter I left for you? I remember. Tung Shan nodded. Li Jun revealed a smile and nodded. I said in the letter that after I finish my apprenticeship, I will definitely look for Big brother Tung. I definitely will. After teacher and I left, I kept thinking about Big brother Tung and practiced my whip art with all my might. Later, when I found out about what happened in the Great Yin Mountain, I was very worried. It was only from Martial Uncle that I found out that Big brother Tung was fine. Martial Uncle taught me the language of beasts, and I learned it very seriously. I thought that if my language of beasts was strong, my position in the sect would be high. Then I would be able to help Big brother Tung. Maybe the heavens were watching, and I finally met Big brother Tung. It was in the Great Prairie. I was very happy, very happy. Li Jun was so excited that her body trembled slightly. At that time, I was so excited that I almost couldn't control myself. The following days were the happiest days I've had in the past half a year. I could watch Big brother Tung eat the food I cooked. I could lie on the grass and watch Big brother Tung practice boxing from afar. I could sit under the starlight and chat with Big brother Tung. I was very happy. Li Jun stared at Tung Shan without blinking. The days I spent with Big brother Tung. Even if I watched from afar, I felt joy from the bottom of my heart. Big brother Tung, I said in the letter that I would look for you. I don't ask for anything else. I can be your sister, or even a maid or a servant. As long as I can see you, it's fine. Tung Shan stood silently on the mountain rock. Big brother Tung, let me go to sea with you. Li Jun stared at Tung Shan. Little Jun. Tung Shan took a deep breath and wanted to say something. Li Jun hastily shook her head. Big brother Tung, no need to say anything. Actually, it's not a big deal for you if I go to sea with you. You just have one more maid. Li Jun took a deep breath and said, Big brother Tung, I just want an answer. Can I go or not? I won't force you. I just want an answer. If you don't want me to go, I won't pester you. I'll leave immediately. Li Jun stared at Tung Shan with apprehension in her eyes. Tung Shan didn't feel good. Letting a young lady follow him across the sea? Kitten was dead. Ching was dead. Tung Shan didn't want him to hurt other women. Go back. Tung Shan stared at Li Jun and said softly, After a long time, you will meet many new friends. You will be happy. Big brother Tung. Li Jun took a deep breath and forced a smile. Okay, I'll listen to you. I'll go back. However, even in the future, I will always remember Big brother Tung. Suddenly, Li Jun raised her head and let out a clear and melodious cry. Screech, the cry resounded through the sky, causing people's hearts to tremble. Pa! The white fierce wind celestial eagle flapped its wings and sent Tung Shan flying. Tung Shan immediately used his hands to support himself and landed on a rock. The white fierce wind celestial eagle glared at Tung Shan. Li Jun jumped onto the back of the white fierce wind celestial eagle. I won't send you off. Li Jun stared at Tung Shan and forced a smile. I'll return to the god of Heaven Mountain first. With this, she turned her face away, tears rolling down her cheeks. Woo-woo. Li Jun lay on the back of the eagle as her tears soaked the feathers. Phew! The fierce wind celestial eagle spread its wings and flew. The black and white fierce wind celestial eagles rapidly flew towards the south. Tung Shan raised his head and watched this scene. He sighed softly in his heart. It's better to get the pain over with. He would never be able to forget the death of Kitten and Ching. P.S. Chapter 5 is up. Continue writing Chapter 6. Chapter 6 will also be the final chapter of Chapter 6, Traveling the World on a Horse. Chapter 296. As Tung Shan stood on the rock, many soldiers were cleaning up the corpses below him. Borolimu raised his head and looked at Tung Shan. When he saw that Tung Shan's expression wasn't right, and that Li Jun had left on the fierce wind divine eagle, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Whoosh! Whoosh! Boralimu leaped twice and reached a height of over 10 zhang. He smiled and asked, Brother Hua, what happened? Why did Her Highness leave just like that? Weren't you going out to sea? She's not sending you off? Little June is busy. Tung Shan glanced at Boralimu and scolded with a smile. Why are you looking at me like that? What are you thinking about? No matter how I look at it, the two of you look like a pair of lovers throwing a tantrum. Boralimu laughed and patted Tung Shan's shoulder as he said, Brother Hua, your strength is not bad. But this feeling, I'm afraid he's not as good as me. I even have a great-grandson now. Remember, you should seize the opportunity. Otherwise, it will be very painful. Tung Shan looked at Boralimu. Boralimu was more than 180 years old. The lifespan of a post-liminary expert was 150 years old. If Boralimu's wife was of the same age as him, then his wife would have died a long time ago. Life is just like this. Boralimu smiled and said, Be happy. Both of them were happy. I see that you don't have any other women. That's right. Be nice to little June. No matter what you say, it's too late. Tung Shan shook his head and smiled. Boralimu, I originally wanted to look for you to inform you. Now it's better. I'm going to board a ship and set sail immediately. So urgent? You're not going to the celebratory feast? Boralimu asked in surprise. No. Tung Shan shook his head. By the way, where's General Liu? I'll let him arrange the boats. Boralimu looked at Tung Shan helplessly and said, I really don't know what you are thinking. Aren't you just going to the sea to cultivate? There was no need to be so anxious. Marriage was also very important in one's life. Sigh, Xiao Jun is such a good girl. Yet you left her alone on the God of Heaven mountain while you floated on the ocean by yourself. Big brother Boralimu, can you stop talking? Tung Shan hastily said. If you don't listen to your elders, you will suffer. Boralimu immediately said, Let's go. Follow me. What for? Tung Shan was startled. Aren't you looking for General Liu? Boralimu glanced at Tung Shan and said, I'll take you there. Tung Shan followed Boralimu as they walked on Heavenly Rock Island. Along the way, they saw a large amount of corpses and fresh blood. The soldiers of the God of Heaven Mountain were cleaning up. Of the 10,000 soldiers of Snowhawk Hall, only a few were killed, while the rest surrendered obediently. On the entire Heavenly Rock Island, the miners had the fewest casualties. Whether it was the Snowhawk Hall or the God of Heaven Mountain, mining still required these miners. At the southern coast of Heavenly Rock Island, Godly General, the black, bearded, brawny man hastily said respectfully. Boralimu smiled and said, Lord Hua is in a hurry to go out to sea. Have you prepared the ship he asked you to prepare? The black, bearded, brawny man looked at Tung Shan and said excitedly, Lord Hua, you asked me to prepare a ship that can go out to sea. After I went ashore, I immediately ordered people to search for it. Not long ago, we found a good ship. This ship was said to be specially built by Wan Tuyo of Snowhawk Hall to travel on the ocean by himself. The entire body of the ship is made of tungsten wood, which is harder and more tenacious than ordinary steel. Tungsten wood. This Wan Tuyo sure is extravagant. Boralimu smiled as he glanced at Tung Shan and said, Brother Hua, you have made a fortune this time. Luck. Tung Shan smiled. Boralimu hastily ordered, Don't talk nonsense. Hurry, where's the ship? Lead the way. It's very close. The black-bearded, brawny man hastily led the way. In just a moment, Tung Shan and Boralimu followed General Liu to a seaside a few li away. From afar, Tung Shan could see a large ship that was completely black with white edges on the sides. Although this large ship couldn't be compared to the warship from before, it wasn't small either. This tungsten wood vessel is about 12 zhang long, is 5 zhang wide. Its entire body is made of tungsten wood and is inlaid with heavenly bright silver. The cost of this ship alone is comparable to our 3 warships. General Liu exclaimed in admiration. General, The soldiers in charge of looking after the tungsten wood vessel immediately saluted. General Lu nodded and asked, "Is the food and clothing ready?" "It's all in the cabin." One of the soldiers said respectfully, "We have checked the entire tungsten wood vessel. We even added an anchor. The rest doesn't need to be modified. This ship is already very well built. If we close the cabin door, it will be fine even if we encounter huge waves." General Lu smiled and nodded. He then looked at Boralimu and Tung Qingshan and said, "Lords, let's board the ship first." The three of them were experts and didn't need wooden planks. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The three of them jumped onto the tungsten wood vessel one after the other, using tungsten wood to build a ship. Tung Qingshan looked at it and sighed in admiration at the extravagance of Snow Hawk Hall. There were no cabins above the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. General Lu touched the thick and long mast and sighed with emotion. "Lord, this tungsten wood vessel has two masts that are placed side by side. When the time comes, Lord can use the wind more effectively on the sea. Moreover, the crossbar of the sail isn't fixed. The sail can change direction according to the direction of the wind to obtain the greatest speed." Tung Qingshan looked at it and nodded in satisfaction. "Here are two huge oars." General Lu walked to the center of the deck and said, "When there is no wind to borrow power or when there is some danger, one needs to speed up and escape or change direction. One can use these two long oars to move the ship. On the big ship, a large number of soldiers can move the ship at the same time. However, these two huge oars are obviously prepared for super experts. I believe that with Lord Hua's strength, it will be very easy for him to move the two oars at the same time." Tung Qingshan looked at it and was very satisfied. "Ha!" Boralima laughed. "Moving the two oars is nothing. It won't be hard for Brother Hua to lift the big ship and run at will." Tung Qingshan couldn't help but laugh. Who would be stupid enough to lift the big ship and run? Also, there are two big iron anchors here. General Lu looked at Tung Qingshan and asked, "Does Lord Hua know how to weigh and drop the anchor?" Although weighing and dropping the anchor wasn't difficult, it wasn't something that could be done easily by someone who had never done it before. Moreover, Tung Qingshan could only do it by himself. Boralimu immediately smiled and said, "Don't worry about him. If worst comes to worst, he can just jump into the water and weigh the anchor." "Weigh and drop the anchor, I understand." Tung Qingshan looked at Boralimu helplessly. Many things on this ship are very simple. General Lu pointed at the cabin door that led to the bottom of the ship and said, "Open the cabin door and you can rest inside. If you encounter a huge wave, you can lower the sails and close the cabin door. When the cabin door is closed, the water won't be able to enter." Tung Qingshan nodded satisfactorily. "Very good." With this, Tung Qingshan weighed the anchor. This was because they were now south of Heavenly Rock Island, and the wind was blowing from the south. Therefore, Tung Qingshan could only row the boat to set off. After cultivating on the sea for a while, you should return to the god of Heaven Mountain often. I think that Lady Little June will definitely miss you." Boralimu and Tung Qingshan hugged each other and bade farewell. "Brother Boralimu, mind your own business. I hope that the next time I come, you will have reached the emptiness realm." Tung Qingshan smiled and said, "Thank you for your kind words." Boralimu and General Lu got off the boat. "Brother Hua, take care." Boralimu waved his hand and shouted from shore. Tung Qingshan rowed the boat. With Tung Qingshan's arm strength, he alone surpassed over 100 elite soldiers. The tungsten wood vessel rapidly broke through the waves and headed towards the east. Tung Qingshan turned his head and looked at the shore. Boralimu was still standing there waving his hand. Soon, the vessel arrived at the east of Heavenly Rock Island and started sailing northward. Simultaneously, Tung Qingshan raised two big sails. Phew, phew! The sail swelled up and the tungsten wood vessel rapidly sailed northward. Tung Qingshan no longer needed to row the boat. "Take care." Tung Qingshan stared at the boundless sea. Voila! The waves undulated slightly. Tung Qingshan stood on the deck and stared at the vast and boundless sea. "From today onwards, I will be alone. I will cultivate wholeheartedly and sail across the sea towards the faraway northern sea continent. Tung Shan's heart was very tranquil. The tungstenwood vessel continued to sail northward. This time, Tung Shan was pleasantly surprised to meet Li Jun on the Great Prairie. However, this entanglement of feelings also made Tung Shan feel guilty. However, he was afraid. The death of Kitten and Ching made him afraid. After a long time, little June will probably marry someone. Tung Shan immediately turned around and opened the cabin door. Voila! The cabin door opened. Just as Tung Shan was about to walk down the stairs, his ears suddenly twitched. "Who is it?" Tung Shan shouted in a deep voice. Crack! The sound of a wooden chest opening was heard. Subsequently, Tung Shan saw a young girl with messy hair threw away the quilt and quickly walked towards the stairs. Tung Shan stared at the person in front of him in astonishment. "Little June?" "Yes, it's me." Li Jun giggled. Why are you here?" Tung Shan asked in astonishment. Li Jun curled her lips helplessly and appeared very mischievous. "I originally wanted to sit on Big White's back and leave. However, when Big White flew to the southern coast, I suddenly decided to find General Liu and board this ship. Yes, Big Brother Tung, I have to say you are too awesome. I hid in the wooden chest in the cabin and even wrapped myself in a quilt. However, when you opened the cabin door, you could still hear my breathing. Too awesome. You're not praising me for being awesome. Let me ask you, why are you doing this?" Tung Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Li Jun walked to the railing and looked at the ocean ahead. "When I was on Big White's back and was about to leave Heavenly Rock Island, I suddenly decided, if I really return to the God of Heaven Mountain, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Therefore, I am here." Li Jun turned her head and stared at Tung Shan. She stared at Tung Shan. "Big Brother Tung, I'm already on the ship. You can either take me with you, or let me get off the ship. I will swim to Heavenly Rock Island alone. Of course, I'm already so far away. I will probably use up all my inner strength and drown in the sea." Li Jun stared at Tung Shan. "Big Brother Tung, you choose. You can only choose one of the two." Looking at Li Jun, whose hair was messy because she hid in the wooden chest, Tung Shan suddenly felt touched. Choose one of the two. Li Jun's decision was very obvious. This little girl, who was willing to be a servant and follow by his side, had the same mentality as the weak little girl whose family was ruined and died. But there is only one choice between the two. "All right, from today onwards, I am your big brother," Tung Shan said with a smile. Li Jun hugged Tung Shan's arm and smiled brightly. "Yes, Big Brother is also very good. In the future, I can act like a spoiled brat with Big Brother." Tung Shan looked at Li Jun and smiled dotingly. "Big Brother, where are we going? Are we going to float around aimlessly?" Li Jun asked. "Northern Sea Continent." Tung Shan looked towards the north and said slowly, "On the vast and boundless sea, the rays of the morning sun seemed to scatter a thin layer of gauze over the sea." Li Jun and Tung Shan stood in front of the railings of the ship. Under the sunlight, it was as if they were covered by a layer of red gauze. Voila! The sea was boundless and the sails fluttered. The tungstenwood vessel kept sailing towards the north and gradually got further away. Finally, it became a small black dot on the surface of the sea. P.S. 6 chapters have been updated. The 6th chapter, Traveling the World on a Horse, has ended. From tomorrow onwards, the 7th chapter, Northern Sea Continent, will be officially updated. Since December, many people said that Tomato's character was bad. Tomato smiled bitterly. From December 1st to today's 7th, according to 2 chapters per day, it should be 14 chapters. However, Tomato actually updated 19 chapters. Because Tomato didn't save any chapters, he was unable to update evenly, so he was scolded by others. Tomato only wanted to say that Tomato had worked very hard. Everything else was useless. As for how many chapters were updated, it will be clear at a glance from the VIP list. Tomato didn't want to say anything more. Tomato only wanted to say that he didn't lack chapters. He only needed to update more chapters. Logically speaking, After finishing one chapter and writing 6 chapters in one go, it was very tiring. Tomato should rest tomorrow. However, Tomato wouldn't rest tomorrow. Tomorrow, he would directly start updating the 7th chapter, Northern Sea Continent. Moreover, he would continue to update 3 chapters. Tomato worked hard to write novels, and he hoped that everyone would use their monthly votes and recommendation votes to support Tomato. Monthly votes, recommendation votes, and comments were all good ways to support and encourage an author. Chapter 297. The seawater reflected dreamy colors under the sunlight. Tung Ching-shan and Li Jun stood at the bow of the ship, leaning on the railing and looking at the boundless sea view. Li Jun's face was full of smiles. It was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. At this moment, she was unprecedentedly happy as she said, "Big brother Tung, when we were on the prairie, you told me that. You went out to sea this time to cultivate. So, you have been lying to me all along. Speak, what kind of place is the Northern Sea Continent?" Tung Ching-shan couldn't help but smile. "Since you're going, I won't hide it from you." Tung Ching-shan looked towards the north. The Northern Sea Continent is in the north. It's probably hundreds of thousands of li away. Hundreds of thousands of li? Li Jun sucked in a breath of cold air as her eyes widened. How big is the land of the 9 prefectures? Drifting for hundreds of thousands of miles? The wind would not blow all the way to the north. If the direction of the wind were changed, it would take a long time for them to reach this distance of hundreds of thousands of miles. Furthermore, it was so far away. How could he discover it? "Big brother Tung, how did you know?" At this moment, Li Jun was filled with doubts. "Emperor Yu told me." Tung Ching-shan pretended to be mysterious. "Emperor Yu? He's been dead for who knows how many years. How can I tell you? Is it a dream?" Li Jun laughed. "This is related to Emperor Yu's treasure in the Great Yin Mountain." Following Tung Ching-shan's description, Li Jun also quieted down and listened attentively. Only now did she know what kind of tragic battle had taken place in the lake at the bottom of the Great Yin Mountain. She also understood why Tung Ching-shan went to the Northern Sea Continent. Li Jun sighed in a low voice. Ching died quite miserably. She was completely affected. "Yeah." Tung Ching-shan looked at the boundless waves, his gaze distant. "Actually, it's all for the sake of profit. All the supreme sects wanted to obtain Emperor Yu's treasure. The reason why they fought after that was to fight for the elixir of the North Sea. Whether it's me, Ching, or even the Gue Yuan sect, we're all sacrifices in this battle. Why do we have to be manipulated? It is because we are too weak. If the Gue Yuan sect is as powerful as the Mani Temple, who dares to let my Gue Yuan sect's 3,000 black armored corps search them one by one? Even if it can't compare to the Mani Temple, as long as it can reach the level of Xiaoyao Palace, Qinghu Island, and Shooting Sun God Mountain, those people won't dare to go overboard. This is strength." Tung Ching-shan saw it very clearly. For example, in the various villages in East City, the more powerful the villagers live better lives. The girls from the other villages all wanted to marry him. This was strength. In the society of his previous life, A-rank assassins and assassin organizations could easily manipulate you. But as an SS rank assassin, the assassin organization had to support you. Even for ordinary people, it would be easier for them to find a girlfriend if they had money or a good job, and no one else would dare to bully you. Everything was the same. Others would only respect you if you were strong. For me, this trip to the Northern Sea Continent is a kind of training. Tung Ching-shan's eyes were burning. The Godly Axe Mountain is one aspect. Even if I didn't go to the Godly Axe Mountain, the various setbacks on the way back and forth would have deepened my understanding of Tao. Only when I am strong can I go back to the land of the 9 prefectures. Li Jun listened to Tung Ching-shan's narration and a smile appeared on her face. During the escape journey, Tung Ching-shan actually felt that his state of mind had changed. During the half a year in the prairie, Tung Ching-shan used the sky as his blanket and the ground as his bed. He either helped the ordinary poor prairie residents or killed some mounted bandits. In this kind of cultivation, killing, and helping, Tung Ching-shan's entire mind gradually approached perfection, and it was easier for him to understand Tao. For example, when Zhuge Yuanhong saw Tang Qingshan's strength for the first time, he exclaimed in admiration. He thought that Tang Qingshan treated the heavens and the earth as his teacher and had a pure heart. In fact, Tang Qingshan did not have a pure child's heart in the past. What was a pure child's heart? It was like a child who was just born. At that time, he did not know good or evil, good or bad. He observed the world with the purest and purest eyes. His heart was pure and flawless. He had never received any teachings from the outside world, so he was limited. Because it was the purest, he could understand the world more clearly. He had come into contact with Tao. However, Tang Qingshan was different. In his previous life, Tang Qingshan had gone through the hellish training of being an assassin. His mind had long been affected. In this life, after a series of setbacks, he could only be born after entering the world. Tang Qingshan had experienced a lot and saw through many things. He had experienced the world and the prairie, and finally, his mind was close to pure and flawless. Everything pointed to the heart. Tang Qingshan understood that the pure and innocent heart was actually a kind of return. After experiencing the mortal world, he would return to the pure and innocent heart of a newborn baby. Know yourself. Know your heart. Only a mind that had gone through the baptism of the boundless secular world could be considered a real achievement. With such a mind, it would be easier to understand Tao. Because of this, Tang Qingshan's earth elemental Tao had reached such a high level in half a year. The journey of drifting in the North Sea is also a process of baptizing the heart and understanding Tao. Tang Qingshan's heart was calm, without any ripples. In the evening, the sea breeze blew. Catch fish? Big brother Tang, how do you catch fish? Li Jun stood on the deck and looked down at the seawater. She had said that it was time to eat, but Tang Qingshan actually said that he wanted to get some live food and jumped into the sea. Voila! The seawater began to surge. Li Jun immediately widened her eyes and looked carefully. She saw the surging seawater become more and more violent. Li Jun looked down in surprise. She saw Tang Qingshan, whose body was covered in a fiery red glow, practicing a set of fist arts with both of his hands. In front of him, there was actually a huge mass of water floating in front of him. It seemed to be controlled by his hands, and there was a large number of fish in the mass of water. Li Jun was completely stunned. How'd he do this? Why can't the fish swim out of the mass of water? Why is the mass of water under his control? Catch! Tang Qingshan laughed loudly. As if he was playing with a rubber ball, he suddenly flicked it. Boom! The large mass of water was suddenly tossed up. When it was in midair, it immediately exploded and transformed into a large amount of water that fell onto the tungsten wood vessel's deck. There were at least a few hundred white fish that smashed onto the deck. Plop! 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 It was a spectacular sight. Phew! Tang Qingshan stepped on the water and leaped onto the deck. Li Jun! Tang Qingshan looked at Li Jun and couldn't help but laugh. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Li Jun was so angry that she clenched her teeth. At this moment, Li Jun's clothes were also wet. There was even a fish that smashed on her head and rolled onto the deck, continuously rolling. Didn't I tell you to catch it? Tang Qingshan smiled. Hurry up and prepare the roasted fish. Oh, you should go and change your clothes first. Okay. Li Jun snorted and immediately went into the cabin. Tang Qingshan looked at the rolling fish on the deck, and his mood became even better. Tang Qingshan also realized, although it was only the second day since he entered the ocean, his mental state and understanding the concept of his fist art were much more comfortable and natural. After Li Jun and Tang Qingshan ate the roasted fish, Tang Qingshan practiced his fist art. Occasionally, Li Jun would also practice her fist art. Occasionally, she would just watch from the side. Only when it was late at night did the two enter the cabin. Inside the cabin, the large flowery cloth just happened to separate the entire cabin. Tang Qingshan slept in the area outside the flowery cloth, while Li Jun usually stayed inside. It seems like it wasn't a wise decision to bring little Jun along. Tang Qingshan rubbed his chin and smiled bitterly. After 2 days, Tung Ching Shan discovered many problems. For example, people had 3 urgent needs, such as changing clothes, sleeping, and so on. Many trifling matters in life were very troublesome because of the differences between men and women. Last night, Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun were basically decorating the cabin and didn't sleep well at all. Tonight was the real night of rest. The floor of the cabin was covered with a cotton blanket. Tung Ching Shan directly sat cross-legged on it and closed his eyes to meditate. To Tung Ching Shan, meditating and sleeping had no difference. Voila! The sound of water flowing continued outside the cabin. For a moment, the cabin was very quiet. Li Jun quietly pulled open the flowery cloth curtain and looked towards Tung Ching Shan. Seeing that Tung Ching Shan was meditating quietly, she smiled and closed the curtain again. Woo! Li Jun lay on the bed and raised her head to look at the ceiling. I'm finally together with Big Brother Tung. Watching him meditate and sleep, watching him practice martial arts, watching him eat, watching him smile bitterly and helplessly, Li Jun thought and couldn't help but smile. She felt very happy. After a long time, she finally fell asleep. Rumble, the cabin suddenly began to shake. Li Jun's body swayed and fell off the bed. She said in panic, Big Brother Tung, what happened? With this, she put on her clothes and pulled open the curtain. At this moment, Tung Ching Shan had already stood up and walked up the stairs. It should be the wind and waves. Tung Ching Shan also didn't dare to be sure. Stay in the cabin, don't go out. Oh, Li Jun obediently stayed in the cabin. Voila! The moment the cabin door was opened, a large amount of rainwater flowed in and smashed onto his face. It's only the second day. Did something happen? Tung Ching Shan immediately jumped out and closed the cabin door. Rumble, outside, Tung Ching Shan felt that the situation was bad. He saw the gloomy sea in front of him roaring and sweeping, and the entire tungstenwood vessel swayed continuously in the violent sea. So unlucky. Tung Ching Shan immediately lowered all the sails. Tung Ching Shan felt unsteady standing on the vessel. Tung Ching Shan suddenly leaped. Whoosh! With a single leap, he reached a height of over 20 zhang. Standing high in the air, Tung Ching Shan looked down. He saw that the water was constantly rotating, and a huge and frightening whirlpool had already formed. The tungstenwood vessel was in the middle of the whirlpool, constantly rotating along the whirlpool and rolling in the sea waves. The tungstenwood vessel was like a toy that could shatter at any time, causing Tung Ching Shan to feel nervous. Whirlpool, so unlucky. The tungstenwood vessel shouldn't be so fragile. Tung Ching Shan's body fell down again. This time, he fell into the sea. Phew! Tung Ching Shan stepped on the water and rushed towards the tungstenwood vessel. Rumble, a huge wave rushed over and drowned Tung Ching Shan. Chapter 298. Submerged in the seawater, it was still being spun by the force of the whirlpool. It would be troublesome if the tungstenwood vessel was sucked into the depths of the whirlpool. I only have one vessel. Tung Ching Shan carefully looked down. With his night vision, he could clearly see that there was a long and thick water column whirlpool in the depths of the seawater in front of him. With a thought, Tung Ching Shan made a decision. Phew! Dashing out of the seawater, Tung Ching Shan circulated his innate true origin and performed the Qing Gong crossing worlds as he stepped on the water. Whoosh! Like a sharp arrow piercing through the sky, he leaped twice in the seawater and landed on the deck of the tungstenwood vessel. Hua! Tung Ching Shan opened the cabin door and dashed in like a lightning bolt. The cabin shook incessantly, and many boxes, clothes, pots, bowls, and ladles were scattered on the ground. Fortunately, these pots and bowls were made of iron and were not easily damaged. Big Brother Tung, what's going on outside? Li Jun, who was in the cabin, asked worriedly. Tung Ching Shan picked up the dark blaze rod and said with a smile, It's nothing serious. It's just a huge whirlpool. It will be settled in a while. Tung Ching Shan held the dark blaze rod and quickly went out of the cabin door and closed it. Standing on the deck, he felt the shaking of the vessel. Isn't it just a whirlpool? Tung Ching Shan leaped off the tungstenwood vessel and plunged into the chaotic seawater. At this moment, the seawater was gloomy and chaotic, like a huge roaring beast. Although the force of the whirlpool was strong, it was not enough to restrict the movements of an expert like Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan held the dark blaze rod and dived into the depths of the seawater. The sea was chaotic, but the depths of the seawater were relatively quiet. With his naked eyes, Tung Ching Shan could see a whirlpool of water leading to the surface of the sea. Break it! Tung Ching Shan moved his legs and swiftly swam over. As he approached the water column, Tung Ching Shan could faintly feel the suction force. Oomph! Tung Ching Shan charged directly into the water column. When he entered the whirlpool of water, hua hua, the force of the whirlpool caused Tung Ching Shan's ears to be filled with a violent sound. Freeze! The innate true origin on the surface of Tung Ching Shan's body vibrated, stabilizing Tung Ching Shan. Spin! Tung Ching Shan let out a deep roar and started brandishing his dark blaze rod downwards, completely reversing the direction of the whirlpool. Wielding the dark blaze rod in a reverse direction within the whirlpool was an extremely difficult task. However, Tung Ching Shan was still able to do it. Phew! Phew! The dark blaze rod was brandished. My strength is not enough. Tung Ching Shan's face turned slightly red. His arms suddenly bulged and pushed up his sleeves. The originally brandishing dark blaze rod began to spin. If it could still be seen with the naked eye, the current speed of the dark blaze rod was so fast that it was impossible to see it clearly. As it spun wildly in the reverse direction, the whirlpool immediately shook. The whirlpool at the bottom of the sea was still in a stalemate with Tung Ching Shan. When the powerful force of the whirlpool at the bottom of the sea reached Tung Ching Shan, it was destroyed. Naturally, the whirlpool above Tung Ching Shan dispersed. In the cabin of the tungsten-wood vessel, Li Jun had been holding onto the cabin wall, trying to stabilize herself. It stabilized. Li Jun also realized that the shaking of the cabin was gradually weakening. Very soon, there was almost no shaking at all. Big Brother Tung, did you solve the problem? Li Jun opened the cabin door and walked onto the deck. The gloomy seawater of the night was like a man-devouring monster. However, at this moment, the whirlpool had already dissipated, and the surface of the sea only trembled slightly. Where is Big Brother Tung? Li Jun carefully looked around. The seawater was still tumbling, but there was no sign of Tung Ching Shan. In the seawater, Tung Ching Shan was swimming downwards, and, at the same time, he was also disturbing the whirlpool. Actually, Tung Ching Shan had two options. The first option was to continuously destroy the whirlpool and allow the tungsten-wood vessel to drift away from that area. However, this method would take a long time. The second option was to directly rush to the source of the whirlpool and temporarily destroy the source. Then, he would naturally be able to safely board the vessel and leave. Without a doubt, Tung Ching Shan chose the second option. I wonder how this whirlpool was created. Tung Ching Shan was puzzled. In just a short while, Tung Ching Shan arrived at the bottom of the sea. What is this? Tung Ching Shan looked at the gray and dull ground. A gigantic creature with faint golden fragments was lying on the seabed. A large amount of water was being swallowed by its mouth, and then a large amount of water was being sprayed out from its gills. This gigantic creature was about 20 zhang long, and it was much larger than the thunder whale he saw earlier. Swallowing water? What is it doing? Tung Ching Shan looked puzzled. With a length of 20 zhang, its weight should be at least a few 100,000 jin. Its body is covered with golden fragments, and it looks like a thunder whale. However, this demonic beast has a horn that looks like a sharp knife. Let's temporarily call it Unicorn Thunder Whale. Tung Ching Shan saw that the monster had a lot of teeth in its mouth. There were a total of 5 elements of teeth that intertwined with each other. The stones, wood, and other things that were flowing into its mouth along with the seawater were directly blocked by its teeth. Buddy! Tung Ching Shan shouted loudly. The gigantic creature's pair of golden eyes, which were the size of car wheels, stared at Tung Ching Shan. It suddenly closed its mouth and stopped swallowing. That's a good boy. Tung Ching Shan smiled and swam upwards. The gigantic creature suddenly opened its mouth. Boom! A pillar of water shot towards Tung Ching Shan at lightning speed. Tung Ching Shan, who had been swimming upwards, immediately turned his body and waved his right leg like a windmill. With a force of over 1,000,000 Jin, he stirred the water and slashed at the pillar of water. Bang! The pillar of water exploded from the kick, and the water at the bottom of the sea shook violently. Roar! The unicorn thunder whale swiftly swung its tail and dashed in front of Tung Ching Shan. At the same time, it let out a furious roar. Its golden eyes were filled with anger after being provoked. It was the king of this area of the sea, and none of the demonic beasts in the surroundings dared to provoke it. A little human dared to provoke it? Tung Ching Shan looked at the unicorn thunder whale and shook his head helplessly. Big guy, I only asked you to stop so that I can sail away. Although I don't mind fighting you, I don't want to bully a demonic beast. Tung Ching Shan had seen Emptiness Realm demonic beasts a few times in the past. Emptiness Realm demonic beasts were completely different from Golden Dan innate demonic beasts. In Emptiness Realm demonic beasts, every move could cause the power of the heavens and the earth to tremble. Just a glance from it could give people an absolute sense of oppression. Tung Ching Shan could still clearly remember the fear in his heart when he saw the demonic dragon Violet Rain. In Tung Ching Shan's eyes, the unicorn thunder whale before him was at most a Golden Dan innate demonic beast. Actually, Emptiness Realm demonic beasts were very rare. It wasn't easy to encounter one. After fighting with a Golden Dan innate demonic beast and comprehending the second part of the earth element fist, Tung Ching Shan had absolute confidence. Tung Ching Shan didn't want to bully a Golden Dan innate demonic beast. Roar! The unicorn thunder whale was very intelligent. It could sense Tung Ching Shan's attitude. This immediately enraged it. Boom! The unicorn thunder whale swung its tail fiercely and dashed towards Tung Ching Shan in a flash. At the same time, it opened its terrifying big mouth. Every tooth in that big mouth was bigger than a human head and extremely sharp. There were a total of 5 rows of teeth. Tung Ching Shan could feel the sharpness of the teeth just by looking at them. Tung Ching Shan waved the dark blaze rod in his hand. Bang! The rod smashed onto the unicorn thunder whale's head. However, the surface of the unicorn thunder whale's head was too tough. Tung Ching Shan only managed to break the skin and blood flowed out. Phew! The unicorn thunder whale's mouth produced a terrifying suction force. Simultaneously, it bit towards Tung Ching Shan with its bloody mouth. Oh no! At the edge of the unicorn thunder whale's mouth, Tung Ching Shan finally felt how terrifying the suction force was. He was about to be uncontrollably sucked into the unicorn thunder whale's mouth. Tung Ching Shan's facial expression changed slightly as he thought to himself, if the skull is so hard, the teeth must be even harder. He reckoned that he would be bitten to death the moment he entered the unicorn thunder whale's mouth. To demonic beasts, sharp claws and teeth were godly weapons. With a bite and a chew, even godly weapons could be chewed into scrap metal. Oomph! Tung Ching Shan waved the dark blaze rod and smashed it against the teeth. The powerful counterforce allowed Tung Ching Shan to escape from a suction force. Roar! The unicorn thunder whale floated at the bottom of the sea and stared at Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan held the dark blaze rod in his hand and looked at the enormous creature. He revealed a smile and said, I originally didn't want to fight with you, but since you were so interested, Tung Ching Shan instantly turned into a phantom and dashed towards the unicorn thunder whale. Simultaneously, he withdrew his innate true origin and covered his entire body with the internal supreme force. He completely unleashed his power. Roar! The unicorn thunder whale, whose status hadn't been challenged for many years, roared and dashed over. In the depths of the sea, a human and a demonic beast started fighting. The demonic beast thought that it was being challenged, while the human was a belligerent. Naturally, the two of them started fighting wildly. Boom! Boom! Tung Ching Shan's dark blaze rod was powerful and heavy. Once it got serious, his defense could be said to be perfect. Whoosh! Swirling water currents appeared around Tung Shan. The unicorn thunder whale couldn't help but roar angrily as he smashed his rod repeatedly. There were many wounds on its enormous body, but because its body was too huge, the wounds could only be considered as minor. Suddenly, Chi-Chi, the unicorn thunder whale's entire body, emitted azure gold electric arcs, and all the electric arcs frantically surged towards the blade-like horn on its head. Seeing this scene, Tung Shan's facial expression changed drastically. Could this monster really be a thunder whale? The unicorn thunder whale was a name that Tung Shan came up with. Tung Shan didn't know what kind of demonic beast this was. After all, thunder whales didn't have horns and their colors were different. At the bottom of the sea, the electric arcs gathered on the horn on the head of the enormous creature had already turned into a pure gold color. The unicorn thunder whale's wheel-sized eyes stared coldly at Tung Shan. Phew! The golden electric arcs shot out from the horn, and the surface of Tung Shan's body was already enveloped by a layer of innate true origin. Too fast. Tung Shan didn't even have time to dodge, and the golden electric arcs had already hit him. Pooh! The innate true origin instantly exploded, and the electric arcs immediately acted on Tung Shan's body. The strong electric arcs caused all of Tung Shan's muscles and bones to violently twitch. However, the internal supreme force that was hidden in the depths of every cell in his body immediately rushed out and dispersed the electric arcs. Even Tung Shan's long hair was flickering with an earthy yellow radiance. At this moment, Tung Shan, the surface of his body was covered with golden electric arcs, and the earthy yellow radiance flickered at the same time. The unicorn thunder whale looked at the scene before it in astonishment. The human in front of it actually didn't die. P.S. Here's the second chapter. Today, the first chapter was actually late by more than 10 seconds. It was only updated at 31 minutes. Tomato had to say, I didn't do it on purpose this time. It was purely because of the network delay, and Chidian's author section's response was too slow. What a tragedy. All right, the result was already done, and it couldn't be changed. However, Tomato had already updated 6 chapters yesterday, and he indeed didn't prepare to update 4 chapters today. How about this? I'll still update 3 chapters today. I'll update 1 more chapter tomorrow, and I'll update 4 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 299. The human body was only so big, but it could exert a force of 800,000 gene. It wasn't strange that Tung Shan's body was harder than dark steel. Plus, there was the internal supreme force hidden deep within his body. This allowed Tung Shan's body to combine the inside and outside of his body, which made it much easier for him to defend against external attacks. Ordinary Golden Dan innate experts might be electrocuted to death after their protective light shield was broken. However, Tung Shan wouldn't die. Roar! The unicorn thunder whale let out a deep roar. Its huge eyes stared at Tung Shan with astonishment. At this moment, the clothes on Tung Shan's body had already turned into ashes. The naked Tung Shan held the dark blaze rod in his hand, and a hint of anger could be seen in his eyes. If I knew that this whirlpool was caused by you, I wouldn't have brought the dark blaze rod. I would have brought the reincarnation spear instead of the dark blaze rod. Your body wouldn't have these wounds, but bloody holes. Previously, Tung Shan wanted to break the whirlpool, and the material of the dark blaze rod was better than that of the reincarnation spear. Therefore, Tung Shan took the dark blaze rod and entered the sea. However, in a real battle, Tung Shan still used the reincarnation spear in order to display his strongest fighting ability. For example, a thrust. The tip of the spear was completely different from the tip of the dark blaze rod. However, even if I don't use the reincarnation spear, I can still take care of you, you evil creature. Tung Shan's eyes focused, and his body suddenly dashed out. Phew! In the deep sea, when Tung Shan dashed towards the unicorn thunder whale, the unicorn thunder whale's huge eyes shrank. It let out a deep roar and actually swung its tail, causing the sea water to surge. Its huge body rapidly fled into the distance. Phew! Phew! In Tung Ching Shan's vision, the huge creature fled rapidly until it disappeared. It's really fast. Tung Ching Shan was stunned as he said, Brother Boralimu is right. Even if it is an emptiness Dan innate thunder whale, it will not be able to withstand it. Even a hollow Dan innate expert can swim faster in the sea than a golden Dan innate expert. Not to mention that this thunder whale was obviously much stronger. Forget it. Now that this guy is gone, the matter has been resolved. He looked down at himself. Because he was struck by lightning, his skin, hair, and other parts of his body contained internal supreme force. Naturally, he was fine. However, his clothes instantly turned into ashes. I still have to return to the ship. Little June is still on the ship, and I'm naked. Tung Ching Shan glanced in the direction in which the unicorn thunder whale had escaped. You escaped fast. Immediately, Tung Ching Shan swam upwards from the bottom of the sea. At the bow of the tungsten wood vessel, Li Jun was worriedly looking at the surface of the sea. It's been so long. Why isn't he back yet? Li Jun was slightly worried. The surrounding seawater was still dark and unfathomable. No one knew what was hidden at the bottom of the sea. Did Big Brother Tung encounter a demonic beast? It'll be fine, yeah? Li Jun could only wait anxiously. Suddenly, whoosh! From the surface of the water in front of them, a fiery red ray of light broke through the surface of the water and immediately landed on the tungsten wood vessel with a leap. Big Brother Tung! Li Jun exclaimed in surprise. After the fiery red figure landed on the deck, he only said one sentence. Yeah, I'll enter the cabin first. His voice was still echoing, but he had already entered the cabin. With a kacha sound, the cabin door was already closed. Big Brother Tung, what happened? Li Jun was very puzzled. She immediately thought of something and was shocked. Could it be that Big Brother Tung was injured? You don't want me to know? Bang! Bang! Li Jun immediately knocked on the cabin door and shouted, Big Brother Tung, are you all right? I'm fine. Tung Ching Shan's voice sounded. Soon, the cabin door opened again, and Tung Ching Shan, who was dressed in black, walked out with the silver reincarnation spear in his hand. You changed your clothes? Li Jun was slightly surprised. Big Brother Tung, why did you take out the reincarnation spear? Are you going to fight? Tung Ching Shan went to raise the sail and said, Previously, I encountered a powerful demonic beast at the bottom of the sea. My clothes were torn, so I changed my clothes. If I had known that there would be a demonic beast, I wouldn't have brought the dark blaze rod and would have brought the reincarnation spear instead. If I had brought the reincarnation spear, that demonic beast would have died a long time ago. Demonic beast? What kind of demonic beast is so powerful? Li Jun was slightly surprised. Tung Ching Shan walked over from the mast and said with a smile, that demonic beast looked similar to a thunder whale. Its skin was gray in color, and occasionally there were bits of gold. On its forehead, there was a horn that looked like a sword. It was over 20 zhang in length. It was much bigger than our tungsten wood vessel. It could also release thunder and lightning, golden thunder and lightning. Unlike ordinary thunder whales that shoot thunder and lightning from their dorsal fins, it shoots thunder and lightning from its horn. Li Jun listened with a face full of doubt. Big Brother Tung, from what you said, it should be an extremely powerful thunder whale. However, I've never heard of it, and I haven't seen any records of it in the demonic beast books of the god of Heaven Mountain. In a clan, there were indeed strong and weak ones. Fierce Wind Divine Eagle, Steel Arm Ape, and many other clans had experts. Don't worry about it. This demonic beast is probably afraid of me. Tung Ching Shan smiled and said, I'm afraid it won't dare to provoke us. The unicorn thunder whale had already retreated at the bottom of the sea. It probably used all its methods but still couldn't kill Tung Ching Shan, so of course it had to run away. Li Jun smiled and nodded. Big Brother Tung can even fight against the first godly general, so why would you be afraid of those demonic beasts? Oh, Big Brother Tung, wear the torn clothes you said you fought underwater. I'll see if I can wear them again after repairing them. We can't replenish our clothes on the sea. We don't have much, so we have to save them. Tung Qingshan blinked. Clothes? His clothes had already turned into ashes. Otherwise, why would he need to cover his body with the innate true origin and enter the cabin? Tung Qingshan coughed and said, "You can't wear them anymore. I've already burned them into ashes with the innate true origin. It's still night. Don't stand in the cold wind at the bow of the ship. Go to the cabin and sleep." Oh. Li Jun obediently went into the cabin. Tung Qingshan stood at the bow of the ship and stared at the gloomy sea water. He rubbed his nose and said, "I really failed miserably because of this demonic beast. I only have 6 sets of clothes in total. If I destroy one set in one battle, I'm afraid I won't have any clothes to wear before we reach the northern sea continent." Tung Qingshan stayed at the bow of the ship for 1 hour and practiced the spear art for 1 hour. Seeing that everything was peaceful, he returned to the cabin to rest. At dawn the next day, Tung Qingshan woke up early and practiced the 3 postures on the deck. Li Jun was still sleeping in the cabin. It was probably because of the demonic beast last night that Li Jun couldn't sleep well. Voila! The seawater rippled slightly. A red light appeared in the distant east. As Tung Qingshan practiced his fist art, the sun gradually rose from the horizon. Tung Qingshan's figure suddenly stopped. Bang! The tungsten wood vessel under his feet suddenly rose 3 to 4 zhang into the air. Tung Qingshan hastily leaped out of the tungsten wood vessel. In midair, he saw a thunder whale with bluish-gray skin at the bottom of the tungsten wood vessel. Tung Qingshan couldn't help but be furious. This thunder whale was obviously an ordinary thunder whale, but it actually dared to provoke him. Moreover, it was easy to deduce that the thunder whale slowly rose from the bottom of the sea. Because it rose from the bottom of the sea, it couldn't be seen by the naked eye. In addition, the seawater had always been rippling and crashing, so it was impossible for Tung Qingshan to discover the thunder whale at the bottom of the sea. When the thunder whale touched the tungsten wood vessel and was about to send the tungsten wood vessel flying, Tung Qingshan discovered it. Whoosh! After sending the tungsten wood vessel flying, the thunder whale immediately dove into the water. With a flick of its tail fin, it created a huge wave and disappeared. Rumble, the tungsten wood vessel, which rose 3 to 4 zhang, fell back into the sea. Bang! The waves overflowed. Tung Qingshan used his qing gong and stepped on the seawater. Something's wrong. Tung Qingshan frowned. With the thunder whale's strength, even though the tungsten wood vessel is harder than ordinary steel, it is still a hollow, innate demonic beast. It wouldn't be difficult to pierce through the bottom of the tungsten wood vessel. Tung Qingshan stepped on the water a few times before leaping onto the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. Tung Qingshan stood at the bow of the vessel and carefully observed the surroundings. He felt that something was wrong. Hua! The cabin door opened, and Li Jun ran up while covering her head with her hands. With a bitter face, she asked, "Big brother Tung, what happened just now?" "I was sleeping soundly, but the entire cabin suddenly shook and my head hit the cabin wall." "It was the thunder whale," Tung Qingshan said. "Thunder whale? Where is it?" Li Jun was astonished. With a solemn expression, Tung Qingshan pointed at the surroundings and said, "Look carefully." Li Jun stood at the bow of the vessel and looked. She saw huge black shadows continuously rising from the water. Wah! Wah! The dorsal fins of the thunder whales with greenish-gray skin emerged from the water, and pairs of huge black eyes stared at the tungsten wood vessel. "Big brother Tung, look over there." Li Jun's facial expression changed greatly as she pointed to the left. Wah! 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 Tung Qingshan looked over. Huge thunder whales emerged from the front, left, right, and rear of the tungsten wood vessel. Every thunder whale stared at Tung Qingshan's tungsten wood vessel. The tungsten wood vessel was 12 zhang long, and the thunder whales were slightly larger than the tungsten wood vessel. The thunder whales were densely packed and surrounded the area. "What's going on?" Tung Qingshan's heart stirred. Roar! A resounding roar reverberated above the sea. Li Jun pointed to the front in shock and said, "Big brother Tung, look in front. Is that the one you were talking about?" Tung Shan already saw a huge golden-skinned unicorn thunder whale amidst the school of thunder whales in front of the tungsten wood vessel. Its blade-like horn reflected a blood-red radiance under the morning sun. The pair of wheel-sized golden eyes stared at Tung Shan. Roar, roar, the huge thunder whale roared. It's really it. This big guy is actually the king of the school of thunder whales. Of course, Tung Shan could tell. He immediately rushed into the cabin and returned to the bow of the vessel in a breath's time. At this moment, a reincarnation spear appeared in his hand. Tung Shan looked at the king of thunder whales and whispered, "Little June, talk to it and see if it's willing to give up." Roar. Li Jun also roared towards the king of thunder whales. When the king of thunder whales heard this roar, its huge eyes were filled with amazement. It then responded with a few roars. Li Jun turned to look at Tung Shan and said, "Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales said that it's impossible to give up. This sea is its territory. Whoever provokes, it will have to pay the price. It also said that these thunder whales are its children. With one command, our boat will be finished. P.S. 3 chapters completed. I will update tomorrow." Chapter 300. On the vast and mighty sea, hundreds of thunder whales surrounded the tungsten wood vessel. Being stared at by so many thunder whales, even Tung Shan's heart skipped a beat. Tung Shan frowned. "Ask it what it wants," Tung Shan said. Tung Shan could see that there must be a reason why so many thunder whales surrounded the tungsten wood vessel and did not launch their strongest attack. Otherwise, these hundreds of thunder whales could destroy the tungsten wood vessel in an instant. "Okay." Li Jun immediately turned her head and stood at the bow of the vessel. She roared towards the king of thunder whales in the distance. After the king of thunder whales heard Li Jun's roar, it looked at Tung Shan with its wheel-like eyes, giving off a feeling of superiority. It then roared, "Ho, ho." The undulating roar was something Tung Shan could not understand. He could only look at Li Jun. When Li Jun heard this, her complexion became unsightly. Oh! The numerous thunder whales in the surrounding sea all let out terrifying roars, as if responding to their king. Every thunder whale was not smaller than the tungsten wood vessel. The roars of these demonic beasts were needless to say. When hundreds of thunder whales roared together, it was as if thousands of thunder roared at the same time, resounding between the heavens and the earth. Tung Shan could not help but feel anxious. The situation did not look good. What did this guy say? Tung Shan hastily asked. Li Jun revealed an anxious expression and hastily said, "Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales just said that you disturbed its cultivation at the bottom of the lake last night. You even injured it. This is a capital offense. Today, it brought its clan to put you on trial." "Trial?" Bullsh asterisk T. Tung Shan's gaze turned cold. He stared at the king of thunder whales and roared, "Little June, tell it. Yesterday I used a stick as a weapon, but now I have a godly spear in my hand. This is an extremely powerful, godly weapon. If I used this godly weapon today, the king of thunder whales would already be dead. Tell it." Li Jun was startled. Meet force with force? Isn't it too much to make the king of thunder whales unhappy? After all, it's the king of the thunder whales, Li Jun said worriedly. "Don't worry." Tung Shan looked at the king of thunder whales in the distance. To be able to reach the golden dan of the innate realm and be the king of a clan, it was very intelligent, unlike those stupid beasts that went crazy easily. "Just tell it." Li Jun was a little hesitant, but she still trusted Tung Shan. After pondering for a moment, Li Jun roared at the king of thunder whales. Li Jun's words were much more tactful than Tung Shan's, but the meaning behind them was very clear. Our side is not to be trifled with. If we provoke them too much, no one will have a good time. Before Li Jun could finish shouting, suddenly, "Ho!" a furious roar resounded through the horizon from the king of thunder whales. The king of thunder whales' golden eyes were filled with rage, as if he was about to go crazy. Immediately, The several hundred thunder whales surrounding the tungsten wood vessel roared crazily. Walala! The seawater shook uncontrollably. The tungsten wood vessel also swayed. Li Jun couldn't even stand steadily and grabbed the railing. Big brother Tung, this guy's gone crazy, Li Jun said impatiently. Tung Qingshan frowned. How could he go crazy so easily? Isn't it comparable to a human's intelligence? It can't be that simple. Tung Qingshan was very calm, but at this moment, the king of thunder whales was extremely angry, as if its dignity had been challenged. Oh! The king of thunder whales roared again and glared at Tung Qingshan. As soon as this roar resounded, the several hundred thunder whales around the tungsten wood vessel immediately had azure electric arcs flowing all over their bodies. For a moment, the seawater reflected an azure color. The area around the tungsten wood vessel became an area of azure lightning. Not good. Li Jun looked at the king of thunder whales and let out a low roar. However, Tung Qingshan's face was calm. He extended his hand to protect Li Jun and was ready to escape at any time. At the same time, he glared at the king of thunder whales. For a moment, the enormous king of thunder whales and Tung Qingshan were about 100 zhang apart as they looked at each other from a distance. Oh! The king of thunder whales let out a carefree roar. Immediately, the thunder whales floating in the surrounding sea withdrew their lightning into their bodies. The thunder whales stared at the tungsten wood vessel with their huge, cold, pitch-black eyes. The king of thunder whales once again let out a series of low roars towards Li Jun, and Li Jun responded. After a moment, Li Jun turned her head and looked at Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan's stomach was filled with anger. He was actually surrounded by a group of demonic beasts. However, he had to endure it. Firstly, it was for Li Jun's safety. Secondly, it was for the safety of the tungsten wood vessel. Tung Qingshan didn't want to swim hundreds of thousands of li by himself in the boundless sea. If Tung Qingshan's willpower was strong enough, he wouldn't have to worry about wasting time, and he wouldn't mind the boredom and tiredness. However, in his previous life on Earth, who would walk around Earth? Not to mention Earth, even walking tens of thousands of li would be extremely rare. They would only do it to challenge himself. Even if Tung Qingshan had the ability to swim hundreds of thousands of li in the ocean, he wouldn't do it. On the tungsten wood vessel, he raised the sail and floated towards the north. This was very pleasant. What did he say? Tung Qingshan asked. Big brother Tung. Li Jun's face showed a trace of worry. The king of thunder whales just said that if it gives the order, hundreds of thunder whales will release lightning at the same time. Even if you don't die, you will be heavily injured. Hundreds of thunder whales in the ocean are enough to kill you. Tung Qingshan's face darkened. Don't worry, it's not as simple as it thinks. A thunder whale is like a huge boat. Its body is so big, and I'm so small. How can they surround and attack me? Tung Qingshan wasn't worried about this at all. Ask him what he wants me to agree to in order to let us leave safely. Tung Qingshan didn't think that this group of thunder whales came here just to deal with him. If they wanted to kill him, this group of thunder whales would suffer great losses. How could a king of a group be so stupid? However, that might not be the case. He was a human, and the king of thunder whales was a thunder whale. Perhaps their way of thinking was different. Roar, roar. Li Jun stood at the bow of the ship and roared towards the king of thunder whales in the ocean. Fortunately, she was an inner strength expert. Otherwise, she would have become dizzy from shouting from such a distance. Fortunately, I brought little Jun. Seeing Li Jun working so hard, Tung Qingshan suddenly had a thought. If I didn't bring little Jun in the vast North Sea, I'm afraid that if I fought against demonic beasts, I could only kill each other. Demonic beasts and humans often kill each other because they can't communicate. If they could understand each other's thoughts and requests, there would be much less killing. Bringing little Jun along in the vast North Sea would probably be more useful than a Golden Dan innate expert. A girl and a huge demonic beast communicated with each other through the language of beasts. Tung Qingshan watched and thought to himself, that king of thunder whales seems to have a much better attitude. Although he couldn't understand, Tung Shan could deduce something from the king of thunder whale's eyes and the emotions contained in its roars. After a while, phew, Li Jun also took a deep breath and turned her head to look at Tung Shan. She revealed a smile and said, "Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales said just now that it really wanted to teach you a lesson. It wanted to destroy your tungsten wood vessel and use a group of thunder whales to madly strike you with thunder and lightning. If it can kill you, then it will kill you. If it can't, then teaching you a lesson can be considered as letting off some steam." Tung Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If he went out to sea alone and couldn't communicate with the king of thunder whales, the king of thunder whales would put on airs and then use a large group of thunder whales to strike him. It would be hard to say whether he would die or not. However, the tungsten wood vessel would definitely be destroyed. After striking him, it would arrogantly leave. In the ocean, even if Tung Shan transformed into a fish, he might be able to catch up to a normal thunder whale. However, against the king of thunder whales, the difference in speed was still quite large. Tung Shan had seen the king of thunder whales' astonishing speed last night. No matter what, he relied on his innate true origin to transform into a fish, which was too crude and simple. It couldn't be as ingenious as the thunder whale's body structure. Did it say its conditions? Tung Shan asked. It said to let it think about it first and tell me later. Li Jun said helplessly. Tung Shan was stunned and immediately didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Little Jun, this king of thunder whales would never have thought that we would have a human who is proficient in the language of beasts. Therefore, it didn't expect us to do anything. But now, if we don't state some conditions, the king of thunder whales won't let us go so easily. Yes, we can only wait for it to ask for a sky-high price." Li Jun said helplessly. The sea breeze blew and the rays of the sun shone on the surface of the ocean. The thunder whales calmly stayed in the surroundings. Tung Shan stood at the bow of the ship and looked at the thunder whales around him. He could only choose to wait. The current situation was very obvious that he was at a disadvantage. Of course, if he cooperated with the reincarnation spear, he would be able to unleash a force that would make the king of thunder whales reconsider. After a moment, roar! The king of thunder whales let out roars. The several hundred thunder whales, which were originally calm, were now in a state of chaos as they let out chaotic roars. Li Jun listened attentively and occasionally responded. "What are its conditions?" After Li Jun and the king of thunder whales finished their conversation, Tung Shan asked. Li Jun smiled and said, "Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales said that it really has a very important matter that it wants us to do. However, this matter will take a long time. Just by traveling by sea, it will probably take 8 to 10 days. Of course, while traveling, it will order a thunder whale to tie a rope to our tungsten wood vessel and drag it over. The speed will be very fast. Even if it's fast, it will still take 10 to half a day." Hearing this, Tung Shan frowned. He didn't want to waste time on the journey. "Where?" Tung Shan asked. "It's on a mysterious island in the northwest direction." Once Li Jun said this, a smile appeared on Tung Shan's face. Northwest direction? Tung Shan wasn't sure of the exact location of the northern sea continent. He only knew that it was heading north. Because of the monsoon and the various situations on the sea, it was impossible for the ship to accurately head north. Normally, it would randomly head northwest, northeast, or north. After all, the northern sea continent was a very large continent. As long as they reached the continent, it would be fine. The island in the northwest direction? Tung Shan smiled and said, "It seems that not only will we not waste time, but we will also travel faster with the thunder whale dragging the tungsten wood vessel. Yes, if I can solve the difficulty, then I will accept." Li Jun smiled and said mysteriously, "The king of thunder whales also said that as long as Big Brother Tung agrees, it will prepare a gift." Chapter 301. Gift. Tung Shan looked at the enormous demonic beast in the sea with great interest. Yes, this king of thunder whales is the king of its tribe and has lived for an unknown number of years. It probably has some treasures. Ask it what gift it wants. Li Jun blinked her eyes. Big brother tongue means that we accept the king of thunder whales' offer. We accept. Tung Ching Shan rubbed his chin and smiled. Let's head to the northern sea continent and drift along the way. Aside from cultivating, we also need to find something interesting to do. A mysterious island in the northwest direction? I am somewhat interested now. The king of thunder whales even wants to give gifts, why not? Li Jun also smiled. She immediately turned her head and grabbed the railing at the bow of the ship, letting out roars. Ho! The enormous king of thunder whales let out a heaven-shaking roar of joy. Immediately, all the thunder whales in the surrounding waters let out excited roars. Each and every one of them was very excited, as if they had found a mate. When Tung Ching Shan saw this scene, a trace of doubt arose in his heart. Something's wrong. Isn't it just going to an island to help them do something? Why are they so excited? Tung Ching Shan realized that this matter wasn't ordinary. Ho! Ho! Li Jun and the king of thunder whales conversed. Big brother Tung. Li Jun turned her head and looked at Tung Ching Shan. The king of thunder whales said that it didn't prepare a gift in advance. Let's hurry, and it will send its subordinates to fetch the gift. It will probably deliver the gift halfway through the journey. Tung Ching Shan nodded. Not preparing anything in advance was within Tung Ching Shan's expectations. The king of thunder whales wants us to first use a rope to tie the dorsal fin of thunder whale so that it can drag our tungsten wood vessel. Li Jun said. Tung Ching Shan immediately moved the iron chain that was connected to the iron anchor from the bow of the ship. At the same time, he separated the iron chain from the anchor. Soon after, he carried the large bundle of iron chain and jumped from the tungsten wood vessel into the sea. Roar, following the command of the king of thunder whales. Immediately, a thunder whale approached Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan stepped on the water surface twice and jumped onto the back of this thunder whale. This thunder whale's back is really wide. It's almost as wide as a boat. It was just too slippery. If an ordinary person were to stand on it, they would slip if they were not careful. Tung Ching Shan quickly tied the iron chain to the dorsal fin of the thunder whale. He even tightened the chain to prevent it from slipping. Hoo! With a stomp, Tung Ching Shan leaped nearly 20 zhang away from the thunder whale's back and landed on the tungsten wood vessel. Roar! The enormous body of the king of thunder whales also swam towards the tungsten wood vessel. Its pair of huge golden eyes looked at Tung Ching Shan with kindness and excitement. It roared several times. The large number of thunder whales surrounding the tungsten wood vessel immediately moved. Voila! The thunder whales all flung their tail fins, creating a large splash as they dived into the sea. In just a moment, only 30 or so thunder whales were left in the surroundings. The other thunder whales had all left. Big brother Tung. Li Jun smiled and said, This king of thunder whales made the thunder whales return to their nest. Now it is still discussing with the thunder whales about going to the island. Right? What is the name of the island we are going to? Tung Ching Shan asked. Li Jun hesitated for a moment before saying, According to their language of beasts, it should be called Iron Leaf Island. Iron Leaf Island? Tung Ching Shan was also curious about the mysterious island. Following the king of thunder whales' roar, the thunder whale that was dragging Tung Ching Shan's tungsten wood vessel began to swim towards the northwest. As it swam, Tung Ching Shan realized that the thunder whale's speed was much faster than the tungsten wood vessels. The sails, which originally produced power, were now resisting. I'll lower the sails. Tung Ching Shan hurriedly lowered the two sails. At this time, Tung Ching Shan also realized that the king of thunder whales had already swam to the side of the tungsten wood vessel. Its huge golden eyes were staring at Tung Ching Shan as it let out deep roars. Tung Ching Shan and the king of thunder whales didn't understand each other's language, so they could only rely on Li Jun. Big brother Tung, this king of thunder whales, said, It is very grateful that you agreed to its request. It also said that you are a true warrior. Li Jun covered her mouth as she laughed. Tung Ching Shan curled his lips and smiled. I already said that this king of thunder whales isn't stupid. It even knows how to flatter. Ask it, Why are we going to Iron Leaf Island? Li Jun hastily turned her head and communicated with the king of Thunder Whales. After a moment, Li Jun said, Big Brother Tongue, this king of Thunder Whales said that this matter is not difficult. However, because they are on an island, and thunder whales are more suited to the sea, they are unable to go ashore. Once they go ashore, they can only be bullied by land or flying demonic beasts. It also said that if Big Brother Tongue were to do it, Tongue Ching Shan would not be able to do it. That'll be easy. Demonic beasts? Tongue Ching Shan frowned. Things aren't that simple. The king of Thunder Whales also let out a low roar. Li Jun continued. In the center of the Iron Leaf Island, there is a huge tree. This tree was named the Iron Leaf Fruit Tree by the Thunder Whale clan. The iron leaf fruit that this iron leaf fruit tree bears is very important to the Thunder Whale clan. The reason it wanted Big Brother Tongue to go was to pick the iron leaf fruit. The iron leaf fruit was not only useful to the Thunder Whale clan, it was also useful for other demonic beasts. Therefore, picking the iron leaf fruit is more difficult. Iron leaf fruit. Tung Ching Shan was a little surprised. Ask the king of Thunder Whales if humans can eat that fruit. If there are a lot of them, we can also try too. Li Jun's eyes also lit up as she turned to ask the king of Thunder Whales. In the middle of the ocean, under the leadership of the king of Thunder Whales, over 30 thunder whales protected the tungsten wood vessel as it advanced northwest. We can't eat it. Li Jun turned her head and smiled bitterly at Tung Ching Shan. The king of Thunder Whales said that the iron leaf fruit is very hard, like steel. Only powerful demonic beasts can chew and eat it. If we eat it, I'm afraid, like steel. Tung Ching Shan was stunned. A fruit like steel? Demonic beasts would fight to eat it? There were indeed all sorts of strange things in this boundless world. Under the Thunder Whale's toe, the tungstenwood vessel broke through the waves and advanced rapidly. Late at night of the second day, the cold night wind blew. Tung Ching Shan was practicing the 3 postures on the deck, while Li Jun had already entered the cabin to rest. The 30 thunder whales also stopped in the middle of the ocean and began to rest while floating on the surface of the ocean. Although they were demonic beasts, they could not rest forever. Roar! Suddenly, a loud roar sounded. Tung Ching Shan couldn't help but stop and look at the surface of the ocean. He saw that the king of thunder whales was also approaching the tungsten wood vessel. Little June, Tung Ching Shan knocked on the cabin door twice. Soon, the cabin door opened and Li Jun walked out with her long hair draped over her shoulders. The left side of her face was slightly red from the pillow pressing on it. It was obvious that she had slept very soundly. Big Brother Tongue, when I heard that roar, I immediately woke up. What does the king of thunder whales want to do? Tung Ching Shan was puzzled. On the first night, the king of thunder whales had been resting and hadn't disturbed them. Why did it do this on the second night? Even if it was ordering its subordinates, it didn't have to be so loud. Roar! The king of thunder whales stared at the tungstenwood vessel with its huge golden eyes. Li Jun's face revealed a joyful expression. Big Brother Tongue, the king of thunder whales said that its subordinates had just delivered the gift, and it wants us to receive it. Hearing this, Tung Ching Shan also looked curiously at the king of thunder whales in the ocean. Phew! The king of thunder whales opened its mouth and a stream of air shot towards the tungstenwood vessel. With a glance, Tung Ching Shan clearly saw a green pearl within the stream of air. He immediately leaped up and grabbed the green pearl with his hand. Bang! Tung Ching Shan fell back onto the deck of the tungstenwood vessel. What kind of pearl is this? Tung Ching Shan carefully examined it. This jewel was about the size of a pigeon's egg. Its entire body was emerald green, and it was so green that it could move one's soul. When Tung Ching Shan touched the jewel, he seemed to feel that this jewel contained a powerful and mysterious power. Roar, roar! Li Jun, who was at the side, conversed with the king of thunder whales. Big Brother Tongue, the king of thunder whales said, "This pearl is a treasure of the ocean." This pearl was a treasure of the ocean. After breaking it and drinking it, it could save one's life. Apart from this, as long as this pearl is worn on one's body, water will not be able to approach within a radius of 5 zhang. It has the ability to repel water. Li Jun said excitedly. Tung Qingshan looked at this green pearl. Since it could save one's life and repel water, it was indeed not bad. He handed it over to Li Jun and said, "Little Jun, keep this green water-repelling pearl with you. It will prevent you from falling into the sea if you encounter danger. In the sea, there is this water-repelling pearl. At least you won't drown." Drown? Li Jun didn't refuse and happily took it. "Little Jun," Tung Qingshan asked curiously, "what's with the language of beasts? Why do I feel that? You seem to understand the languages of many demonic beasts. Could it be that you have learned so much in just half a year?" Li Jun purposely smiled mysteriously. "Big brother Tung, you are wrong. It is not easy to form a language. For example, some demonic beasts are very rare. In the entire world, there are only 2 or 3 of them. These 2 or 3 might not even meet each other. You're saying that they can form a special language of beasts?" Tung Qingshan suddenly understood. Although there are few types of the languages of beasts, it is not as complicated as Big Brother Tung thinks. Li Jun smiled and said, "For example, the languages of wolf-type demonic beasts and leopard-type demonic beasts are similar. There are also some special demonic beasts whose languages are not special. Therefore, it is enough to understand a few main languages of beasts. As for some remote languages of beasts, you need to use your heart to experience and comprehend it. Learning the language of beasts depends on talent. Even if it is a remote language of beasts, I can understand 80 to 90% of it after spending 3 to 5 months with this type of demonic beast." Li Jun's words contained a sense of confidence. Her confidence was not arrogance, but her ability in the language of beasts. The king of beasts only accepted 2 disciples, but her achievements in half a year were greater than senior martial brother Wan's over 10 years. Even the heavenly god palace focused on nurturing Li Jun. "Little Jun, you left without permission this time. If a genius in the language of beasts like you disappeared, the heavenly god palace would probably look for you everywhere," Tung Qingshan said with a smile. "Big brother Tung, you're making fun of me again." Li Jun lowered her head and looked at the green pearl in her hand. When she thought that this was a gift from Tung Qingshan, she felt very happy. Suddenly, she thought of something and said, "Big brother Tung, if you grind this green pearl and eat it, it can save a person's life." Then, although the iron leaf fruit of the Iron Leaf Island is as hard as steel, if you grind it and eat it, will it have a special effect? Chapter 302. Grind the iron leaf fruit and eat it. Tung Qingshan pondered and smiled. Maybe it really has a special effect. However, I won't do that. At Tung Qingshan's level, the effects of external objects were almost negligible. "Little Jun, do you want to try?" Tung Qingshan teased. "I just thought of it by chance. It doesn't seem to work. If we catch some prisoners someday, we can try it out." Li Jun thought and said. After chatting for a while, they entered the cabin to rest. The days on the sea were actually very boring. In the beginning, they might be shocked by the boundless sea, but after a long time, they felt very uncomfortable. Tung Qingshan wholeheartedly cultivated and completely integrated the concept of Earth Element Fist into the Transmutation Unity Law Spear art. As for Li Jun, when she was cultivating, she would watch Tung Qingshan cultivate and interact with the Thunder Whales. It was quite interesting. They continued onward. Tung Qingshan and the others realized that the further north they went, the fewer inhabited islands there were. When they first set off from Heavenly Rock Island, they would occasionally encounter an inhabited island. However, on the 7th day of traveling with the Thunder Whales, Tung Qingshan and the others could no longer see any inhabited islands. This place was too far from the coast of the land of the 9 prefectures. On the 7th day of traveling with the Thunder Whales, late at night, over 30 Thunder Whales were resting on the surface of the sea, so the tungstenwood vessel naturally stopped as well. At this moment, about 100 zhang under the gloomy sea, Tung Qingshan, who only wore a pair of trousers, was practicing his fist art at the bottom of the sea. Buzz, buzz. Each of Tung Qingshan's punches contained an extremely fast drilling force, as if a giant electric drill was piercing through the seabed. Xing E5 Elemental Fist, Drilling Fist. Tung Qingshan practiced the same move, Drilling Fist, at the bottom of the sea. He stood in the three postures and struck out with the Drilling Fist. Tung Qingshan punched again and again. In just 2 hours, he had punched at least 1,000 times. Each punch contained a force of several tens of thousands of jin. Tung Qingshan cultivated the concept, so there was no need for him to unleash all of his power. Tung Qingshan threw out a punch. His punch spun up and down, outwards and inwards, horizontally and vertically, horizontally and horizontally. The rotation turned into a shape, and the rolling turned into a force. It was a terrifying rotational drilling force. If a spirit formation grandmaster were to see this, he would be dumbfounded. This fist technique had long since reached the peak of unfathomable realm. However, Tung Qingshan wanted to surpass the grandmaster level and experience the realm of Tao. Tung Qingshan withdrew his fist and returned to the three postures. I did take advantage of you. A smile appeared on Tung Qingshan's face as he thought to himself. Among the 5 elemental fists, the horizontal fist represents the earth element. Currently, my earth element fist has reached the highest level, and this drilling fist was of the water attribute. Once it was dissolved in the earth, it would grow wood. The horizontal fist was the foundation of the drilling fist. If one's attainment in the horizontal fist was high, it would be easier to practice the drilling fist. Similarly, if one achieves a high level of mastery in the earth element fist, it would be much easier to practice the water element fist. For the past few days, Tung Qingshan would spend 4 hours every night practicing his fist technique at the bottom of the sea. During the process of practicing, Tung Qingshan realized that the concept of the earth element fist was helpful in improving his drilling fist. In his previous life, his teacher, Tung Bolei, taught him that the drilling fist was of the water attribute and dissolved in the earth. It's too difficult to have an epiphany like I did on the Great Prairie. Tung Qingshan was very clear about this. Epiphany can only be obtained by chance. Even if I can't have an epiphany in the sea, it will at least be helpful in comprehending the drilling fist. Practicing the drilling fist on the sea was indeed twice the result with half the effort. It was just like how some Xing Yi experts would observe the movements of animals when they practice the 12 forms. Practicing the 5 elemental fists and the water element fist was most suitable in the sea. I can't have an extravagant desire to have an epiphany. However, if I keep my feet firmly on the ground and practice diligently, I will still improve slowly. Tung Qingshan was very confident. Actually, with the help of the earth element fist as a foundation, his drilling fist was slowly improving. On the 9th day of traveling with the school of thunder whales, late at night, voila, the gloomy sea water rippled. The 30-plus thunder whales and the tungstenwood vessel were still advancing. Normally, the thunder whales would rest at night, but tonight was different. This was because, according to their estimations, they should be able to reach their destination, Iron Leaf Island, tonight. On the tungstenwood vessel, Tung Qingshan held the silver reincarnation spear in his hand and thrusted it forward again and again. Xiao! Xiao! Like the sound of an electric drill, the spear strike was extremely swift and fierce. Tung Qingshan stood still and executed the 3 postures, but the reincarnation spear in his hand executed the move Toxic Dragon Drill again and again. After cultivating the internal supreme force, Toxic Dragon Drill became Tung Qingshan's strongest offensive move. Especially during the 10 days at sea, Tung Qingshan would often enter the sea to practice the drilling fist. The concept of the drilling fist and Toxic Dragon Drill were the same. Tung Qingshan's drilling fist was gradually improving, and the power of his strongest move, Toxic Dragon Drill, was also gradually increasing. Tung Qingshan frowned. Because the tungstenwood vessel had stopped, Tung Qingshan walked to the bow of the vessel and looked into the sea. He saw the king of thunder whales looking at him with its huge golden eyes and roaring twice. It seemed that the king of thunder whales was worried about something and didn't dare to shout loudly. Little June, little June. Tung Chingshan immediately knocked on the cabin door. Soon, Li Jun put on her clothes and ran out. She stood shoulder to shoulder with Tung Chingshan at the bow of the vessel and chatted with the king of thunder whales below. After a while, Li Jun turned to look at Tung Chingshan and said with a smile, "Big brother Tung," the king of thunder whales said, "Iron Leaf Island is about 3 li away." Tung Chingshan glanced over. Although the Iron Leaf Island wasn't considered a big island, it was only 3 li away. Tung Chingshan could still see the dark island on the horizon. There's still 3 li. Why do we stop now? Tung Chingshan frowned. The king of thunder whales said that there are submerged reefs in front. There are even reefs that come out of the sea. I'm afraid that our tungsten wood vessel won't be able to go over. Li Jun explained. In the sea, the king of thunder whales also let out low roars. Li Jun hastily said, "It also said that once we go to the island and fight with the demonic beasts on the island, if the tungsten wood vessel is at the edge of the island, it is very likely that it will be attacked by the demonic beasts. The tungsten wood vessel will be much safer if it is 3 li away." Tung Chingshan listened and nodded. Wait a moment. Tung Chingshan's heart stirred. He immediately opened the cabin door and entered the cabin. He then carried out a bundle of fishing nets and closed the door. Fishing nets, Li Jun said in surprise. Use the iron leaf fruits. Tung Chingshan smiled. If there are a lot of those iron leaf fruits, then the fishing nets will be very useful. Let's prepare to disembark. Tung Chingshan looked at the king of thunder whales below and said, "Little June, tell it that I will disembark and I will disembark on the island. Ask it to protect you." A smile appeared on Li Jun's face as she listened. Soon after, she communicated with the king of thunder whales in the sea and smiled at Tung Chingshan. "Big brother Tung, let's go. Let's disembark." Phew, phew. Tung Chingshan and Li Jun jumped together and fell into the sea with a plop. However, the seawater around Li Jun's body was forced away by an invisible force. It was the effect of the water repelling green pearl. Wearing this green pearl is quite useful. Li Jun looked around the seawater curiously. Roar! The huge head of the king of thunder whales approached. Li Jun roared at it twice and said with a smile, "Big brother Tung, it is already arranged for a thunder whale to watch over the tungsten wood vessel. The others will go to the edge of the Iron Leaf Island." Immediately, Tung Chingshan and Li Jun mounted the back of a thunder whale. Over 30 thunder whales approached the Iron Leaf Island. Ask it if there are any powerful demonic beasts on the island. Previously, it said that I would definitely be able to deal with them. It's better to ask it to explain. Tung Chingshan said, "Okay." Li Jun immediately began to talk softly with the king of thunder whales. After a while, Li Jun turned her head and said, "Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales said that there are a few demonic beasts on the island. However, there is only one demonic beast of the Golden Dan innate realm, and it is a huge condor. From the king of thunder whales' description, I feel that the divine condor should be the golden eye divine condor, which is also known as the black gale divine condor." Tung Chingshan suddenly understood and felt even more confident. The black gale divine condor was also known as the golden-eyed divine condor. It could spit out cold air, and its strength was at the same level as the red-eyed snow lion. One is in the sea, and the other is in the sky. With the black gale divine condor on the island, the king of thunder whales would probably have a hard time getting the fruits. Tung Chingshan smiled. Let alone the black gale divine condor, even ordinary hollow Dan and innate realm demonic beasts wouldn't be afraid of the king of thunder whales as long as they are on the shore and not near the sea. Tung Chingshan was full of confidence. Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales, also said, although the black gale divine condor is often on the island, it isn't there every day. If we are lucky, we won't encounter the divine condor tonight. We can easily drive away some ordinary innate demonic beasts and safely go pick the fruits. Li Jun smiled. Tung Chingshan nodded. Yes, if we don't have to fight, it is also a good thing. Soon, the 30 or so thunder whales arrived at the seaside of the Iron Leaf Island. Big Brother Tongue, the king of thunder whales, said that the iron leaf fruit tree is at the highest point of the entire island. The branches and leaves of the iron leaf fruit tree are as hard and sharp as steel. Moreover, the entire tree is pitch black, and only the fruits are green. You should be able to see it with a glance. Li Jun whispered. Tung Qingshan nodded. However, the area of the island was too big, and there were too many trees. It was impossible for Tung Qingshan to see it with a glance. Big Brother Tongue, be careful, Li Jun whispered. The king of thunder whales also stared at Tung Qingshan with its pair of enormous golden eyes. The 30 or so thunder whales all looked at Tung Qingshan with anticipation. Tung Qingshan smiled. He held the reincarnation spear in his hand and carried the fishing net as he strode to the shore. His body then nimbly flashed and disappeared from the thunder whale's line of sight. Tung Qingshan was like a nimble monkey as he advanced on the Iron Leaf Island. After approximately an hour, Tung Qingshan looked at the towering tree in front of him. The tree was as thick as a person's waist. Its entire body was pitch black, and its leaves looked as if they were forged from steel. The fruits hanging on the branches and leaves were especially green, so green that it made one's heart tremble. With a glance, one could tell that the tree in front of them was the iron leaf fruit tree. That's it, Tung Qingshan revealed a smile. Chapter 303. There were no other plants within 10 zhang of the iron leaf fruit tree. It was barren. Even the plants and trees within 10 zhang were not growing as well as other places. You really can keep your cool. Tung Qingshan surveyed his surroundings and smiled. He then threw the fish net on his shoulder onto the ground, creating a pung sound that was very ear-piercing in the quiet forest. Tung Qingshan could feel that there were many pairs of eyes staring at him from the bushes in the surrounding forest. As expected of a demonic beast, it is very cautious. Tung Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and jumped onto the branch of the iron leaf fruit tree. Green fruits? Iron leaf fruit? Tung Qingshan looked at the fruits in front of him that seemed to be carved out of jade. A world with abundant spiritual qi can indeed give birth to many strange things. Tung Qingshan stretched out his hand and grabbed a fruit. He exerted force. Snap! As if he was forcefully breaking an iron chain, the iron leaf fruit was pulled down by Tung Qingshan. How was this plucking? It was purely pulling with brute force. Ordinary people might not be able to pluck the iron leaf fruit. Tung Qingshan smiled and held the reincarnation spear in his right hand. His left hand was like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, turning into a shadow and grabbing one iron leaf fruit after another. It was as if plucking the iron leaf fruit was an easy task. Wah, wah, wah. Green fruits that looked like they were carved out of jade fell from the iron leaf fruit tree and into the fish net one by one. The speed at which the fruits were plucked was as if the heavens were raining fruits. Boom! The air shook violently. A black shadow rapidly scuttled out from the bushes 10 zhang away and directly pounced towards Tung Qingshan, who was on the iron leaf fruit tree. That pair of green eyes was even more terrifying. Tung Qingshan, who seemed to be immersed in the joy of plucking fruits, glanced sideways and casually flipped his right hand that had been idle. He imbued his powerful arm's strength into it, and the reincarnation spear drew an exquisite line. Xiao! A silver light flashed. Eo! A mournful scream rang out. The silver reincarnation spear had pierced through the chest and abdomen of a demonic beast with silver-gray fur. Fresh blood flowed continuously. This demonic beast's 4 claws were a strange blood-red color. Its body was so huge that it was comparable to an ordinary tiger. Such a demonic beast was pierced by the reincarnation spear, but its pair of green eyes still stared crazily at Tung Qingshan. Its 4 claws were still waving and struggling, but it couldn't break free at all. Blood Shadow Wolf. Tung Qingshan looked down at the demonic beast, and the spear in his right hand moved. Bang! The reincarnation spear spun. A strong wave of internal supreme force passed through the reincarnation spear and exploded in the chest and abdomen of the demonic beast, Blood Shadow Wolf, causing its internal organs to completely shatter. The Blood Shadow Wolf only let out a low howl before it stopped making any more sounds. Tung Shan shook his long spear, causing the Blood Shadow Wolf to slide off the spear shaft and fly downwards. With a pung, the corpse of the Blood Shadow Wolf fell about 5 zhang away from the trunk of the iron leaf fruit tree. Fresh blood dyed the dried ground red. Whoosh! Tung Shan also leaped down from the tree branch and landed on the ground. He looked at the surroundings from afar. With his night vision, he could clearly see a few land demonic beasts hiding everywhere. Tung Shan raised his head and saw a few bird-type demonic beasts perched on some trees in the distance. Each and every one of them glared like a tiger watching its prey. The reincarnation spear in Tung Shan's hand pointed at the surrounding demonic beasts and the bird-type demonic beasts on the trees. If you guys don't scram further away. Tung Shan then pointed the tip of the reincarnation spear at the corpse of the Blood Shadow Wolf. You guys will end up like this. The demonic beasts didn't understand Tung Shan's words. However, Tung Shan pointed at them first, then pointed at the Blood Shadow Wolf. These demonic beasts were all very intelligent and understood. Although they were surprised that this human could discover them. This human could easily kill the emptiness Dan innate demonic beast Blood Shadow Wolf with one spear strike. This already proved Tung Shan's strength. It definitely far surpassed the emptiness Dan innate realm. This iron leaf fruit was very important to the Thunderwhale clan, but it wasn't necessarily so for the other demonic beasts. Screech, Aoo, J, one by one. The demonic beasts quickly left, fearing that this human would pursue and kill them. In a mere moment, all the demonic beasts in the surrounding bushes left, leaving only a few bird-type demonic beasts on the tall trees in the distance. You guys are ruthless. You guys can all fly, so I really can't catch you guys. Tung Shan grinned and no longer paid attention to the group of bird-type demonic beasts. Leaping onto the branch of the green leaf fruit tree, Tung Shan continued to pluck the fruits. Hua, hua, hua. The fruits fell unceasingly, causing the bird-type demonic beasts on the distant trees to become anxious. Screech, screech. Those demonic beasts all emitted angry cries, but they didn't dare to provoke Tung Shan. At the seaside of the Iron Leaf Island, those demonic beasts are very angry. Li Jun heard the cries of the birds and easily understood what they meant. She couldn't help but feel excited. It seems that those demonic beasts aren't Big Brother Tung's match. I reckon that the Black Gale Divine Condor isn't on the island. The King of Thunder Whales at the side asked Li Jun, and Li Jun also told the King of Thunder Whales what she could hear. Ho! The King of Thunder Whales excitedly roared. One by one, the Thunder Whales all roared excitedly. They all understood that in a while, they would be able to bring back a large pile of iron leaf fruits. Suddenly, screech, a resounding and angry cry resounded through the horizon. After the originally excited King of Thunder Whales heard it, it immediately let out a low roar. Hearing its low roar, Li Jun's complexion changed. What? It's the Black Gale Divine Condor? The iron leaf fruit tree. This iron leaf fruit tree would bear fruit once a year. Once it matured, if it wasn't plucked, all the fruits would fall to the ground after a month. However, the iron leaf fruit was as hard as steel, and it was very difficult to rot. Even if it was left there for 2 or 3 years, the iron leaf fruit would still be fine. The day Tung Shan went out to sea was the first day of the 7th month. It just so happened to be the transition between summer and autumn, and it was precisely the season when the iron leaf fruit tree bore fruit. Hua! One by one, the iron leaf fruits fell to the ground and collided with each other, emitting clang-clang sounds of metal striking each other. In just a short while, more than half of the iron leaf fruit tree had already been plucked by Tung Shan. It can only be said that this Tung Shan's plucking speed was too fast. Screech! A resounding and sharp bird cry sounded. Tiska-tiske. I thought that since you weren't on the island, I wouldn't have to fight a serious battle. Forget it. Let's move around a bit. Since Tung Qingshan knew that the other party was the Black Gale Divine Condor, Tung Qingshan was completely confident. Whoosh! A piercingly cold gale blew from the sky, causing many plants to lower their heads. Fortunately, the iron leaf fruits were like solid iron balls. Only an extremely small number of them were blown and rolled. The others that were trapped in the fishing net simply couldn't roll at all. Black Gale Divine Condor. Its entire body is snow white, its crown is gold, and its eyes are also gold. Tung Qingshan looked at the Black Gale Divine Condor, perched on the branch of the big tree, and compared it with the description in the book. Its body is big enough, comparable to Big Black and Big White. The Black Gale Divine Condor's sharp eyes stared at Tung Qingshan below, filled with killing intent. This Iron Leaf Island was its territory. This iron leaf fruit tree was its food. Although it would occasionally let the other demonic beasts on the island have a taste, it monopolized most of the fruits. This fruit was useless to it, who was already at the Golden Dan innate realm, but it liked to eat it. Whoosh! The Black Gale Divine Condor suddenly shot out from the tree branch, like a sharp arrow shooting towards Tung Qingshan below. Tung Qingshan coldly snorted. He didn't dodge and stood firmly on the spot, holding the reincarnation spear in his hand. At the moment when the Black Gale Divine Condor's claws attacked, Tung Qingshan squinted his eyes and the reincarnation spear in his hand twisted and flicked. Like a silver dragon, it attacked the Black Gale Divine Condor. Clang! The sharp claws collided with the tip of the spear. It was like the sound of steel colliding. Visible shock waves spread out, and the surrounding plants were directly crushed into pieces. Many big trees fell with a loud rumble, smashing onto the ground. Only the trunk of the iron leaf fruit tree was left with a shallow wound. As if sensing that Tung Qingshan wasn't easy to deal with, the Black Gale Divine Condor immediately ascended higher. Oomph! Tung Qingshan leaped up, reaching a height of 20 zhang. A human dared to fight with a bird-type demonic beast in midair? Was he courting death? The Black Gale Divine Condor immediately let out a resounding cry and charged towards Tung Qingshan. Its pair of golden eyes were filled with a cold and crazy killing intent. A series of colliding sounds could be heard. Clang, clang, clang. Every time they clashed, it would cause a violent shockwave. The surrounding trees and plants were all swept clean. Even the leaves of the iron leaf fruit tree floated down. Some of the thin branches were even broken, and a few iron leaf fruits fell. The Black Gale Divine Condor's series of attacks simply didn't injure Tung Qingshan in the slightest. Tung Qingshan's transmutation unity law defensive spear art had long since reached an extremely frightening height. This is the moment. Tung Qingshan had been waiting for this moment to lure the Black Gale Divine Condor while he was in mid-air. The Black Gale Divine Condor's frenzied attacks were the easiest to reveal a sliver of an opening in this state. After all, a frenzied attack would weaken one's defense. Pong! When the Black Gale Divine Condor was shaken by Tung Qingshan's spear strike, Tung Qingshan's gaze instantly locked onto the Black Gale Divine Condor's neck. Tung Qingshan had finally used a killing move. Whoosh! The transmutation unity law spear art instantly changed to the toxic dragon drill. A silver lightning lit up. Screech! A resounding and sharp cry that contained a trace of fear resounded. The Black Gale Divine Condor strove to flap its wings. The penetrating power of a fist, saber, or spear tip with a strength of 1,200,000 gene was different. The spear tip only had 1 point, but its penetrating power was naturally astonishing. Moreover, this 1,200,000 gene wasn't brute force, but a bizarre drilling force that erupted in an instant. Gee, the space seemed to have been drilled through. The penetrating power reached a frightening value. Pooh! Tung Qingshan's reincarnation spear instantly pierced through the layers of the Black Gale Divine Condor's steel-like feathers, piercing through the skin, muscles, and bones. The Black Gale Divine Condor's strong defense on the surface was actually the layers of feathers. After Tung Ching Shan pierced through the layers of feathers, the Black Gale Divine Condor was naturally unable to resist. The silver reincarnation spear directly pierced through the Black Gale Divine Condor's left wing. Screech! The Black Gale Divine Condor let out a painful cry. At the same time, its sharp beak spat out a stream of black cold air. Phew! A stream of black cold air instantly enveloped Tung Ching Shan. I've already tasted this move before. Tung Ching Shan concealed his internal supreme force, and his innate true origin instantly formed a light shield. In an instant, Tung Ching Shan was frozen into an ice sculpture. Only now did the Black Gale Divine Condor's golden eyes reveal a trace of pleasure from revenge. However, this ice sculpture could move. Pong! The reincarnation spear suddenly spun, and the Black Gale Divine Condor let out a mournful cry. A hole the size of a human's head was blown up in its left wing, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. Screech! The Black Gale Divine Condor struggled to stay in the air. The layer of ice on the surface of Tung Ching Shan's body completely cracked open. Soon after, he raised his head and looked at the miserable Black Gale Divine Condor above him. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. This Black Gale Divine Condor is a Golden Dan innate demonic beast. If I subdue it, I'll have to focus on dealing with dangerous situations. Besides, with a Divine Condor in the sky, there will definitely be less trouble on the way. 4 chapters completed. Today's 3rd chapter is 1 minute late. Tomato wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was indeed very tired from writing and did not make it in time. But since it was late, they would definitely make up for it. Tomato would definitely keep his promise. That was why. There were 4 more chapters tomorrow. Chapter 304. Drifting on the sea with a Black Gale Divine Condor following him was indeed very convenient. In a mountain forest, the Black Gale Divine Condor, whose left wing was injured, struggled to maintain its balance in the air. After all, it was a Golden Dan innate demonic beast with a huge body. Even if there was a hole in its left wing, it was still able to fly. It looked at the human below in astonishment. He actually didn't die after being hit by its cold air. This was too inconceivable. It didn't want to believe it. Who? The angry Black Gale Divine Condor opened its mouth and another black mist enveloped Tung Ching Shan. It's useless. Tung Ching Shan stood at his original position. With a hoo sound, a fiery red light enveloped his entire body. Tung Ching Shan was like a fire god. The extreme low temperature permeated through the light cover and spread to Tung Ching Shan's entire body. Even a light cover was frozen to the point of cracking. Tung Ching Shan turned into an ice sculpture. This ice sculpture revealed a smiling expression, and the ice on its face immediately cracked. Black Gale Divine Condor, this move of yours is useless against me. Tung Ching Shan raised his head and glanced at the Black Gale Divine Condor. The Black Gale Divine Condor flapped its wings angrily in the air. Its injured left wing had already stopped bleeding, and the wound was completely frozen. A series of angry cries resounded through the sky. Hey! Tung Ching Shan raised his head and looked at the Black Gale Divine Condor in the sky. He laughed and shouted, "It's useless no matter how angry you are. I've already plucked all of these iron leaf fruits." As he spoke, he pointed at the iron leaf fruit tree. At this moment, the Black Gale Divine Condor, who had already stopped on a branch high up on a large tree, angrily glared at Tung Ching Shan with its golden eyes and emitted low cries. Tung Ching Shan jumped onto the iron leaf fruit tree again. This time, Tung Ching Shan hung the reincarnation spear behind his waist and used both hands to pluck the iron leaf fruits. The beautiful and moving iron leaf fruits fell from the tree one by one and smashed into the fishing net. The Black Gale Divine Condor could only watch as Tung Ching Shan plucked the fruits. Not long after, the iron leaf fruit tree no longer had any iron leaf fruits. All of this made the Black Gale Divine Condor's eyes turn red. That's a lot. Tung Ching Shan picked up the scattered iron leaf fruits on the ground and placed them into the fishing net. Then he rolled the net into a pile of iron leaf fruits and carried it on his shoulder. It feels like it weighs a few thousand Gene. There are at least a few hundred of them. Carrying the big fish net, Tung Ching Shan held the reincarnation spear and started to leave. Screech, screech, sharp and resounding bird cries resounded through the horizon. The black gale divine condor screeched crazily as it circled in the sky. However, as it watched Tung Ching Shan rapidly advance through the forest, it did not dare to provoke Tung Ching Shan. Li Jun was quietly waiting at the seaside of Iron Leaf Island. Beside her, over 30 thunder whales and the king of thunder whales were also waiting expectantly. Voila! The waves crashed into the beach again, and then retreated. Li Jun's eyes suddenly saw a blurry figure in the distance. After taking a closer look, a smile appeared on her face as she shouted excitedly, "Big Brother Tung! Big Brother Tung!" The figure in the distance also let out a hearty laugh. "Ha, old June, I took all the fruits of the iron leaf fruit tree in one go." While the laughter was still echoing, Tung Ching Shan quickly walked to the beach and left a deep imprint on the sand with each step he took. Tung Ching Shan casually threw the fishing net to the side. Pong! It made a sound. With the thunder whales' enormous bodies, it was impossible for them to stay by the beach. For example, the king of thunder whales' body was much larger than the tungsten wood vessel. Even with such a large body, it was still 10 zhang away. After Tung Ching Shan threw the fishing net, he sat on it. "Little June, tell it that the iron leaf fruits have been plucked," Tung Ching Shan said with a smile. "However, we will keep 30% and give the king of thunder whales and the others 70%. From Tung Ching Shan's point of view, the iron leaf fruits were valued by so many demonic beasts. Moreover, the entire Iron Leaf Island could give birth to more than 10 demonic beasts, which meant that the island should be located in a place with abundant spiritual qi. On such an island, there was only one iron leaf fruit tree. This iron leaf fruit was probably not ordinary. Although he still didn't understand the use of the iron leaf fruit, it was better to keep some for himself. Oh, when the king of thunder whales saw the large amount of iron leaf fruits under Tung Ching Shan's butt, it couldn't help but let out an excited roar. The thunder whales at the side also roared excitedly. Li Jun immediately spoke to the king of thunder whales and told Tung Ching Shan's intentions. The king of thunder whales looked at Tung Ching Shan with dissatisfaction in its eyes and let out a deep roar. "Big Brother Tung, the king of thunder whales said that we don't need the iron leaf fruits. Moreover, we have received its benefit, the water-repelling green pearl. It wants us to give all the iron leaf fruits to them." Li Jun looked towards Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan's face darkened. He pulled Li Jun to his side and stared at the king of thunder whales. "Little Jun, tell it that one water-repelling green pearl is nothing. I came here from thousands of miles away, so I should take some of the iron leaf fruits. Tell me directly, otherwise they can forget about getting a single fruit." This matter had been under the control of the king of thunder whales from beginning to end. This made Tung Ching Shan very unhappy. A single green pearl was enough to make a golden Dan innate expert busy. If it was too arrogant, worst comes to worst, they would just break up. With the reincarnation spear in hand, Tung Ching Shan also had the confidence to kill the king of thunder whales. As for the tungsten wood vessel, only Li Jun was on the island. If the tungsten wood vessel was destroyed, then so be it. At worst, he could just use the materials on the Iron Leaf Island to build a simple boat. Tung Ching Shan grabbed the fishing net and pulled little June along as they walked towards the shore. Roar, roar. Li Jun retreated to the shore and continuously roared towards the king of thunder whales. Bang! Tung Ching Shan threw the fishing net a little further away. With the reincarnation spear in hand, he immediately flew to the shore and stared at the king of thunder whales. Tung Ching Shan's meaning was very clear. King of thunder whales, don't bully me too much. Otherwise, let's have a competition. The king of thunder whales looked at Tung Ching Shan and seemed to recall the battle at the bottom of the sea. It was beaten by Tung Ching Shan and fled with its tail between its legs. At this moment, Tung Ching Shan was still using the reincarnation spear. Roar! The king of thunder whales finally roared. Big Brother Tung had agreed. It said that 70% of the fruits is enough. Give us 30%. Li Jun hastily said. Tung Ching Shan smiled and said, this king of thunder whales is relying on the fact that it can threaten you and the tungstenwood vessel. That's why it dares to be so arrogant with me. Now that we're on the shore, if you stay far away, it won't dare to be too arrogant. Tung Ching Shan wasn't the least bit surprised. Yes. Li Jun also smiled and nodded. Actually, without us, with the Black Gale Divine Condor and the other demonic beasts on the island, this king of thunder whales probably wouldn't have been able to get so many fruits. Being able to get so many now is already not bad. At this moment, Big Brother Tung, look, that's the Black Gale Divine Condor up there, right? Li Jun raised her head and pointed towards the sky. Tung Ching Shan raised his head and looked. In the dark sky, the pair of golden eyes were very obvious. The enormous body spiraled high in the sky, and the pair of golden eyes stared fixedly at Tung Ching Shan. Little June, do you think we have a way to subdue this Black Gale Divine Condor? Tung Ching Shan asked. Subdue? Li Jun was startled when she heard this. Tung Ching Shan hastily nodded. Yes, subdue. Once this Black Gale Divine Condor is subdued, in the future, if you encounter something like the school of thunder whales, you can directly hide high in the sky on the back of the Black Gale Divine Condor. I won't have any misgivings. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been forced to come here by this school of thunder whales. Also, weren't the black and white fierce wind divine condors from the god of heaven mountains subdued? Tung Ching Shan looked at Li Jun. Li Jun frowned and said, I'm not sure. Let's try it. Immediately, Li Jun raised her head and let out a loud and clear cry. Fortunately, she had also eaten a spiritual treasure and reached the peak of the post-liminary realm. This cry was also very loud and clear. The golden eyes of the Black Gale Divine Condor, spiraling high in the sky, flashed with a trace of surprise and immediately let out a cry. The two communicated for a moment. Screech, the golden-eyed divine condor, let out a resounding and angry cry. It even flapped its wings, causing a large amount of violent wind to blow. Originally, the wound on its left wing was already covered with a layer of ice. Although its agility and speed had decreased sharply, it still had no problem blowing a violent wind. What's wrong? Tung Ching Shan also felt that something was wrong. Li Jun said helplessly, just now, I lured it by saying that I would bring it to roam the North Sea. It said that it knew more about the North Sea than I did. I said that I could let it taste human delicacies and let it eat some iron leaf fruits. Yes, iron leaf fruits. Tung Ching Shan actually agreed with this lure. Now, there are no more iron leaf fruits on that tree. They are all with me. It's useless. Li Jun shook her head and said, it said that it could eat the iron leaf fruits next year. However, it can't become a human's underling and listen to their orders. Tung Ching Shan raised his head, and the Black Gale Divine Condor in the sky also lowered its head to look at Tung Ching Shan. Although they were 50 to 60 zhang apart, the two of them could see each other's eyes. It's really arrogant. Tung Ching Shan's heart stirred, and he said with a smile, Little June, didn't it say that it could eat the iron leaf fruits next year? I think that the iron leaf fruits are very important to it. Just tell it. Your big brother has a fiery temper. If you provoke me, I will chop down the iron leaf fruit tree. Little June, just make me sound worse. Just tell it nicely. In any case, it will be coming with us in the future. It will also take care of you. I don't need it. One played the bad cop, while the other played the good cop. Hearing this, Li Jun smiled. This method might be effective. Let's see how important the iron leaf fruit tree is in its heart. Once the fruit tree is destroyed, it will really be impossible for it to bear fruit again. She immediately raised her head towards the Black Gale Divine Condor in the sky and emitted a series of cries. After a while, screech, screech, the Black Gale Divine Condor also emitted a series of cries, seeming to be very proud of itself. Hearing this, Li Jun's face fell. What's wrong? Tung Ching Shan asked puzzledly. This method didn't work. Li Jun smiled bitterly as she looked at Tung Qingshan and said, "Big brother Tung, the Black Gale Divine Condor said, the fruits of the iron leaf fruit tree, it only liked to eat them. However, it would not increase its strength. Since it couldn't eat it, no matter how unwilling it was, it couldn't lower its head and follow us. Moreover, it also said that the ones who truly needed and valued the iron leaf fruit tree the most were the thunder whales. If we cut down the iron leaf fruit tree, the group of thunder whales might attack us crazily." Tung Qingshan was puzzled. Tung Qingshan turned his head to look at the school of thunder whales in the distance. What the Black Gale Divine Condor had said was probably true. Otherwise, why would the entire group of thunder whales be so excited when he agreed to come and pick the iron leaf fruits? Looks like I'm going to fail. Tung Qingshan had a headache. Chapter 305. On the beach of Iron Leaf Island, Tung Qingshan and Li Jun didn't know what to do. The Black Gale Divine Condor spiraled proudly in the dark sky, occasionally emitting cries. Although it couldn't kill Tung Qingshan with force, it was able to make Tung Qingshan suffer a setback. This made the Black Gale Divine Condor extremely happy. "Big brother Tung, let me try again." Li Jun didn't want to give up. She raised her head and emitted loud and clear cries. Seeing Li Jun's stubborn look, Tung Qingshan suddenly smiled. Screech! The Black Gale Divine Condor emitted a resounding and proud cry and continued to spiral in the sky. Tung Qingshan raised his head and glanced at the Divine Condor. He understood that the Divine Condor was doing this on purpose. "Little Jun," Tung Qingshan opened his mouth and said. Li Jun looked at Tung Qingshan. "Forget it. Since we can't tame it, there's no need to force it." Tung Qingshan glanced at the Divine Condor and said, "This Black Gale Divine Condor is obviously angering us on purpose. I guess it holds a grudge against me for stabbing it with my spear just now. Moreover, it's very difficult to tame a Golden Dan innate demonic beast. There's no need to force it." Previously, Tung Qingshan only had the thought of subduing it. It would be a wonderful thing if he could tame it, but if he couldn't, there was no need to force it. Demonic beasts had their own pride. How could they easily lower their heads and submit? Li Jun nodded. Martial Uncle said that it took a lot of effort to tame White, Black, and the red-eyed snow lion. "Come, let's board the boat." Tung Qingshan lifted the fishing net and carried it on his shoulder. With the reincarnation spear in his hand, he walked towards the sea. Li Jun hastily followed. Screech! Screech! The Black Gale Divine Condor, circling in the sky, immediately emitted screeches. "Big brother Tung, the Divine Condor wants us to talk to it." Li Jun smiled. "Ignore it." Tung Qingshan didn't even turn his head back. Li Jun also nodded. "I know, it did it on purpose. You want to make fun of us." Walking in the sea, Tung Qingshan dived into the sea. The seawater around Li Jun moved away, allowing her to breathe easily. Hearing the thunder whales growl, Li Jun easily climbed onto its back. Although Tung Qingshan was carrying an object that weighed thousands of pounds, his legs were very strong. With a single slap, he could swim a long distance. Whoosh! Tung Qingshan jumped onto the back of the same thunder whale. At the side, the king of thunder whales looked at Tung Qingshan with its huge golden eyes and let out a low roar. High up in the sky, the Black Gale Divine Condor let out a series of cries, attracting the attention of Tung Qingshan and Li Wuyo. "Big brother Tung," Li Jun said with a face full of smiles, "that Black Gale Divine Condor is laughing at us. The king of thunder whales told us to give them the 7 components of the iron leaf fruit first. Don't worry, we'll be on the boat in a while." Tung Qingshan said with a smile. Looking at the human standing on the back of one of its subordinate thunder whales, the king of thunder whales chose to remain silent. It knew that the human was an expert of the same level as itself. In the bushes by the seaside of Iron Leaf Island, demonic beasts popped their heads out and watched the human standing on the back of the thunder whale leave. Even in midair, there were many flying demonic beasts. These ordinary demonic beasts firmly remembered the appearance of the human expert who came to Iron Leaf Island, plucked all the iron leaf fruits, and severely injured the master of Iron Leaf Island, the Black Gale Divine Condor. Among the reefs. Phew! Phew! Tung Qingshan held Li Jun's hand and leaped over Tin Zhong, directly landing on the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. Roar! Below, the king of thunder whales raised its head and let out a low roar towards Tung Qingshan. Big brother Tung, it wants us to give it the iron leaf fruits. Li Jun explained. How? Throw it into the sea? Tung Qingshan asked. The iron leaf fruits are very heavy. They will sink directly. Li Jun and the king of thunder whales conversed, then nodded and said, Big brother Tung, it wants us to throw the iron leaf fruits into the sea. They will take the iron leaf fruits away. All right. Tung Qingshan opened the fishing net and casually tossed 30 to 40% of the iron leaf fruits onto the tungsten wood vessel. Clang, clang, clang. One by one, the iron leaf fruits smashed onto the deck like jadeite balls. This deck was also built with tungsten wood, which was harder and more durable than steel. The collision of the two produced a clear and loud sound that echoed across the sea. King of thunder whales, these are yours. Tung Qingshan picked up the big fishing net, which contained a large amount of iron leaf fruits. Immediately, the 30 or so thunder whales in the sea all raised their heads. The king of thunder whales' pair of huge golden eyes were filled with surprise as it stared at the large amount of iron leaf fruits. Catch! Tung Qingshan laughed and shook the fishing net fiercely. Hundreds of green fruits soared into the sky, flying 7 to 8 zhang high. Hua! As if it was raining fruits, hundreds of fruits fell into the sea one by one. Pa! 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 One by one, they smashed onto the surface of the water, splashing snow-white waves. Phew! The king of thunder whales opened its mouth and took a deep breath. Whoosh! It was as if a tornado had appeared out of nowhere. The strong airflow swept the surrounding seawater into the king of thunder whales' mouth. A large amount of seawater, including the iron leaf fruits that had just fallen into the sea, rushed into its mouth. At the same time, a dozen or so thunder whales flipped their tails and buried themselves in the depths of the sea to prevent the iron leaf fruits from escaping. The boat is swaying. We are swimming towards its mouth. Li Jun was shocked. Due to the strong flow of water, the tungsten wood vessel became unstable and was swimming towards the king of thunder whales' mouth. This king of thunder whales is messing with me. Tung Qingshan stood on the deck, not panicking in the slightest. The tungsten wood vessel flowed along the current for about 7 to 8 zhang. Suddenly, with a clang sound, the tungsten wood vessel stopped flowing. It stopped about 10 zhang away from the king of thunder whales' mouth. This was because the iron chain of the tungsten wood vessel was tied to the dorsal fin of a thunder whale. The thunder whale had been pulling the tungsten wood vessel. So how could the tungsten wood vessel fall into the king of thunder whales' mouth? At this moment, the iron chain, which was as thick as an arm, was stretched taut, forcefully pulling the tungsten wood vessel. After a moment, the king of thunder whales stopped swallowing, and the surrounding seawater regained its tranquility. The tungsten wood vessel also slowly drifted along the direction of the current. Roar! The king of thunder whales let out an excited roar, and the surrounding 30 or so thunder whales also let out excited roars. Each and every one of them looked at Tung Qingshan, who was standing on the bow of the tungsten wood vessel. Big brother Tung, the king of thunder whales is very grateful to you. Li Jun smiled and said, It said that this is the first time in thousands of years that they were able to obtain so many iron leaf fruits at once. Tung Qingshan also looked at the king of thunder whales in the sea and smiled. It seems that this iron leaf fruit is indeed very important to the thunder whale community. Phew! Tung Qingshan jumped off the tungsten wood vessel, went to the thunder whale's back, and untied the iron chain from its dorsal fin. The king of thunder whales and Tung Qingshan glanced at each other, and its huge head nodded towards Tung Qingshan. Soon after, it let out a loud roar, and the 30 or so thunder whales swung their tail fins in unison, creating huge white waves. They all dived into the sea and quickly left. Papa, after stepping on the water twice, Tung Ching Shan held the iron chain and leaped onto the deck. Let's go. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun glanced at each other and smiled. Tung Ching Shan then rowed the huge oar and steered the tungsten wood vessel away from the reef area. Voila! After Tung Ching Shan steered the tungsten wood vessel away from the reef area, he raised the sails. Suddenly, a black shadow shot over from afar. Tung Ching Shan frowned as he looked over. Li Jun also quickly discovered the black shadow. Screech, a loud and clear bird cry, came from the air in front of Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan looked carefully. The black shadow was a gray eagle with a body that was about 1 zhang long. It was one size smaller than the black gale divine eagle. The feathers on the lower part of the gray eagle's body and tail were white, and the feathers on its neck were white as well. Its eyes and eyebrows were covered with golden feathers. From the looks of it, it was a majestic eagle. Demonic beast, whole gale eagle. Tung Ching Shan judged from its appearance. The whole gale eagle is only a normal eagle-type demonic beast, even if it is an expert among the whole gale eagles. It is only at the level of the hollow Dan innate realm. It can spit out wind blades. Tung Ching Shan's horizons had broadened. Demonic beasts at the level of the hollow Dan innate realm posed no threat to him. Screech, screech, the eagle cried unceasingly. Little Jun, what is it saying? Tung Ching Shan looked at Li Jun, who was beside him, with a puzzled expression. As Li Jun listened, her face was filled with astonishment. Little Jun, Tung Ching Shan shouted again. Li Jun woke up with a start. She blinked her eyes and looked at Tung Ching Shan. Big brother Tung, I heard what it said just now, but I don't believe it. What did it say? Tung Ching Shan asked, puzzled. It said, Li Jun looked at Tung Ching Shan. It hopes that we can give it some iron leaf fruits to eat. Why should we give it? Tung Ching Shan asked with interest. Li Jun had a strange expression on her face. This whole gale eagle said that if we give it one iron leaf fruit, it will follow us for a month and listen to us. Tung Ching Shan raised his head and looked at the whole gale eagle. He was very surprised. Demonic beasts were usually arrogant, but this whole gale eagle was rather interesting. Asked it why it did that. Tung Ching Shan was puzzled. He didn't dare to believe it so easily. Otherwise, if the whole gale eagle ate a whole bunch of iron leaf fruits and then flapped its wings and ran away, Tung Ching Shan and the others could only watch helplessly. After all, they couldn't fly. Screech, screech, Li Jun and the whole gale eagle in the sky communicated with each other. Their cries were very pleasant to the ear. Tung Ching Shan looked at this scene and said, the speed of the whole gale eagle is extremely fast. If it comes with us, indeed, I could carry little Jun in midair. I didn't need him to fight. Its use here was similar to that of the black gale divine condor. It would be a good thing if we could leave together. Moments later, Big Brother Tung. Li Jun looked at Tung Ching Shan and said with a smile, this iron leaf fruit is useless to Golden Dan innate demonic beasts. However, it is very useful to weak demonic beasts. It is also somewhat useful to Hollow Dan innate demonic beasts. On the Iron Leaf Island, the Black Gale Divine Condor monopolizes the iron leaf fruits. Many demonic beasts listen to the Black Gale Divine Condor. The Black Gale Divine Condor will occasionally give them 1 or 2 fruits. However, this whole gale eagle isn't very sociable. It even fought with 1 or 2 flying demonic beasts. It hasn't been able to get a single fruit for a few years, so it's boring on this island. Therefore, it wants to leave with us so that it can share the fruits. When Tung Ching Shan heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. Little Jun, it seems that this whole gale eagle doesn't have a good relationship with the other demonic beasts. Chapter 306. Tung Ching Shan looked at the whole gale eagle in the sky. The eyes of the whole gale eagle also looked at Tung Ching Shan with a trace of desire. As expected of a human with intelligence, it even learned to use its eyes. Tung Ching Shan was in a very good mood. With a whole gale eagle accompanying them, it would indeed save them a lot of trouble. Big Brother Tongue, do we agree? Li Jun asked. Her heart was itching, but she still needed Tung Qingshan's permission. Tung Qingshan raised his head and glanced at Li Jun before saying, You tell it that I told you to. The iron leaf fruits are all in the cabin. As for the whole Gale Eagle, it can only rest on the deck and is not allowed to enter the cabin. Give it one fruit every month. Li Jun was overjoyed and immediately emitted a series of cries towards the whole Gale Eagle. Tung Qingshan, on the other hand, placed all the scattered iron leaf fruits on the deck into the fishing net. He then rolled the fishing net through the cabin door and lightly tossed it with his hand infused with the internal supreme force. The fishing net, which contained Tung Qingshan's strength, passed through the cabin door and spun as it fell into the cabin. Hua! Tung Qingshan closed the cabin door. A gust of strong wind blew, and the whole Gale Eagle descended from the sky and landed on the deck of the tungstenwood vessel, standing upright. Even if it didn't spread its wings, the whole Gale Eagle was almost as tall as Tung Qingshan. Screech! The whole Gale Eagle emitted a screech towards Tung Qingshan. It clearly remembered that this human in front of it had killed the annoying Blood Shadow Wolf with one move, which was as strong as itself. He had also severely injured the powerful Black Gale Divine Condor. No matter what, it had to be careful of the human in front of it. Otherwise, it would be killed with a single slap. Big Brother Tongue, it's expressing its goodwill to you. Li Jun smiled. Yes. Tung Qingshan glanced at it and smiled. This guy's a little interesting. You chat with it and tell it not to disturb me if there's nothing important. I don't understand its bird language. Li Jun covered her mouth and smiled. Yes, I understand. Tung Qingshan did not get intimate with the whole Gale Eagle. Instead, he went to the other end of the deck and began to practice his fist technique. Who? At the side, Li Jun and the whole Gale Eagle were happily chatting. The whole Gale Eagle was also complaining about his life on Iron Leaf Island. Occasionally, it would sneak a peek at Tung Qingshan. It realized that this powerful human was just like the strong demon beasts, very arrogant. The whole Gale Eagle made up its mind to not provoke that powerful human in the future. It looked at Li Jun beside it. This girl was the best. She could even chat with it. Big Brother Tongue, what should we call in the future? Li Jun suddenly shouted. Tung Qingshan, who was practicing boxing, did not stop and said directly, Aren't those two fierce wind divine eagles called Blackie and White? This whole Gale Eagle is only an innate emptiness Dan, much weaker than the fierce wind divine eagle. Its body is also much smaller, and its feathers are gray in color. Let's call it Little Gray. Li Jun stuck out her tongue. Little Gray. Li Jun told the whole Gale Eagle. Although the whole Gale Eagle was very dissatisfied with the name Little Gray, when it heard Li Jun say that it was the name Tung Qingshan gave it, it immediately agreed to this name. Little Gray. Screech! The whole Gale Eagle cried. Little Gray, Little Gray. Li Jun shouted twice. Screech! Screech! The whole Gale Eagle cried twice. Tung Qingshan, who was practicing boxing, glanced over and a smile appeared on his face. This whole Gale Eagle was quite interesting. With an additional whole Gale Eagle, the journey in the North Sea would be more interesting. On the tungstenwood vessel, Tung Qingshan was practicing boxing. Li Jun and the whole Gale Eagle were conversing through bird cries. Everything seemed very natural. Phew! Phew! The sea breeze blew and the sails fluttered. The tungstenwood vessel drifted further and further in the vast North Sea under the boundless night sky, disappearing into the depths of the North Sea. Time passed. The days of drifting on the sea were very peaceful. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed since they left Iron Leaf Island. On the sea, Tung Qingshan wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation. The relationship between Li Jun and the whole Gale Eagle became even closer. Li Jun was indeed an expert in taming demonic beasts. In the beginning, the whole Gale Eagle only felt that Tung Qingshan wasn't easy to get close to, so it often interacted with Li Jun. But as time passed, the whole Gale Eagle realized that following by Li Jun's side was indeed a wonderful thing. In the North Sea, the tungstenwood vessel stopped motionlessly on the surface of the sea. An iron anchor was already deeply stuck in a rock in the sea. Chi-Chi, a brazier was placed on the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. Wood was burning in the brazier, and there was an iron plate on top of it. The iron plate was burning red, and there were fishes on the iron plate. Li Jun was sitting at the side, barbecuing them. Occasionally, she would pour some seasonings onto the plate. The seasonings for barbecuing were all brought from the ship. They brought a lot of seasonings, enough for 2 people to use for a few years. Little Gray, don't be anxious. Li Jun smiled as she glanced at the whole gale eagle. The whole gale eagle stared at the barbecued fish and salivated. In the past, it had always eaten raw fish, but it didn't expect that the barbecued fish would taste so delicious and the flesh so tender. After eating it once, the whole gale eagle was hooked. Li Jun also discovered that the whole gale eagle was a gluttonous fellow. Last month, the tungstenwood vessel had accidentally encountered a deserted island. With Tung Qingshan's wilderness experience, which he had trained in a mountain since he was young, he easily found some delicious wild fruits and some wild vegetables. Most of the wild fruits were eaten by the whole gale eagle. Gluttonous. This was the whole gale eagle. In the past, it relied on Tung Qingshan to catch fish. Now, the whole gale eagle would take the initiative to catch fish. With its ability, although it wasn't as good at catching fish as Tung Qingshan, it could still catch tens to hundreds of fish in one go. Big Brother Tung, it's time to come up. Li Jun looked at the sea through the railings of the ship. Screech, screech. The whole gale eagle became anxious and cried out a few times, meaning, Captain isn't coming, let's eat first. If we don't eat, the fish will be burnt. Li Jun glanced at it with a smile. Ha! All right, you eat first. As she spoke, she picked up 2 fish and placed them in the iron basin in front of the whole gale eagle. The whole gale eagle excitedly lowered its head and picked up one of the fish with its beak. With a bit of strength, it tore off half of the fish and swallowed it. Soon after, it swallowed the other half. It didn't even care about the fish card as it ate excitedly. The whole gale eagle felt that its previous decision was very wise. How could it eat such delicious barbecued fish on the Iron Leaf Island? When it was happy, it even proudly cried towards the sky. Bang! Waves suddenly splashed. A figure holding an iron anchor flew up and landed on the deck. It was Tung Qingshan. There were still water droplets on Tung Qingshan's hair. Tung Qingshan put the iron anchor and chain to the side, looked over, and said with a smile, Little Gray eats quite fast. If you didn't come back, and I didn't give it anything to eat, I reckon it would be so anxious that it would go into the water to look for you. Li Jun said with a smile. The whole gale eagle, who was beside her, held a fish in its beak when it saw Tung Qingshan coming up to the deck. It spread its wings and proudly flapped twice. Tung Qingshan smiled. You just ate before me. Look at how proud you are. After 3 months of getting along, the relationship between Tung Qingshan and the whole gale eagle was pretty good. Tung Qingshan also discovered that, although demonic beasts were savage in nature, they were still very pure in nature. It would kill its enemies. If it recognized you as a friend, it would be very friendly. They would respect the strong and be tyrannical to the weak. Although they had the intelligence of humans, the environment they lived in was not as complicated as humans. Due to their pure nature, demonic beasts did not have many needs. For example, the whole gale eagle was a glutton. Little Jun's cooking skills are getting better and better. After sniffing, Tung Qingshan said with a smile, Practice makes perfect. Li Jun and Tung Qingshan had been together for a long time, so their interaction was very natural. She no longer blushed at the slightest thing. Tung Qingshan put away the iron anchor, raised the sails, and adjusted the direction of the sails. Then he walked over and ate the roasted fish together. Bathing in the sunlight and drifting on the sea, a man, a woman, and a demonic beast ate the roasted fish together. In the afternoon, Tung Qingshan held the reincarnation spear in his hand and practiced on the deck. Li Jun lay contentedly on the chair and basked in the sun. The whole gale eagle hovered in the air, venting its excitement after eating the roasted fish. Phew, phew. Tung Qingshan's reincarnation spear was continuously practicing the same move, Toxic Dragon Drill. However, Tung Qingshan's demonstration of the Toxic Dragon Drill was no longer the same as before. Every time he performed the move, there would be a moment of weakness when he lost control. Now, every time Tung Qingshan performed the Toxic Dragon Drill, he could easily switch it to the Transmutation Unity Law Spear Art. Transmutation Unity Law to Toxic Dragon Drill. Toxic Dragon Drill to Transmutation Unity Law. There was no weakness. This was the result of Tung Qingshan's bitter training for more than 3 months. Since he left the sea until now, it had been more than 3 months. Tung Qingshan finally created the first move of the Water Element Fist. The Toxic Dragon Drill also had a hint of gentleness. The Toxic Dragon Drill is now flawless. I can use it without worry when facing an enemy. Tung Qingshan was in a good mood. Suddenly, screech, a sharp cry came from the sky. Li Jun, who was sleeping on the chair, immediately opened her eyes and looked at the sky. Tung Qingshan also raised his head and looked at the sky. After being in contact with the whole Gale Eagle for a long time, Tung Qingshan could tell from a cry whether the whole Gale Eagle was excited, angry, or warning of an enemy. At this moment, the cry was obviously an urgent warning. In midair, a fiery phantom shot over from afar. The whole Gale Eagle immediately scuttled down to the deck. What is that? Li Jun looked at the sky in surprise. Tung Qingshan also looked carefully. The fiery phantom stopped, and only then did Tung Qingshan and Li Jun see the appearance of the target clearly. Its body feathers were azure in color. From its neck up, the feathers were 7-colored, and its crown was golden. Its tail feathers were very long and also 7-colored. When it spread its tail, it looked a bit like a peacock spreading its tail. However, the bird in front of them was even more beautiful and moving. The naturally formed golden crown was like an emperor's crown. Blue Wan, the divine bird Blue Wan. Tung Qingshan gasped. It's really the Blue Wan. The legend is actually true. Li Jun also widened her eyes in shock. The beautiful and dreamlike azure wand stopped in midair. Flames could be faintly seen on its azure feathers. Under the illumination of the sunlight, its rainbow-colored tail feathers looked even more dreamlike. A pair of beautiful and moving eyes looked down at the tungsten wood vessel. The Blue Wand was extremely famous. According to the legend, as long as the Blue Wand reached adulthood, it would naturally reach the Golden Dan innate realm. Moreover, it would be the absolute king of this level. Its speed was extremely terrifying, and its attacks were extremely fierce. No matter how severe the injuries it suffered, the Blue Wand could recover rapidly. If a human had not stepped into the emptiness realm, they would definitely not be a match for the divine bird Blue Wand. Chapter 307. Tung Qingshan raised his head and looked at the divine bird, Blue Wand, in the sky. But in his heart he was puzzled. What was this Blue Wand doing above his ship? His men didn't seem to have provoked the divine bird, Blue Wand. High up in the sky, the green wand's beautiful eyes were staring at Tung Qingshan. Little Jun, asked it why it came here, Tung Qingshan said. Li Jun immediately raised her head and let out a series of cries. The green wand looked at the human girl below in surprise. Screech, the Blue Wand emitted a pleasant cry. Li Jun turned to look at Tung Qingshan in disbelief. Tung Qingshan asked, what did it say? Li Jun hastily said, Big Brother Tung. The Blue Wand just said that it saw Big Brother Tung practicing his spear art from afar. Let feel the aura of heaven and earth. It wants to spar with you. Tung Qingshan laughed in surprise. It wants to compete with me. Interesting, interesting. Tung Qingshan smiled as he looked at the green wand in midair. Screech, screech. The Blue Wand let out several screeches. Li Jun also said, Big Brother Tung. The Blue Wand said that it won't hurt you. It just wants to compete with you and hopes that you can use the spear art just now. Tung Qingshan laughed. Little Jun, it seems like this Blue Wand is the same as us humans. We also want to comprehend the heavenly Tao. When the blue wand reached adulthood, it would reach the golden Dan innate realm. It wanted to break through again and reach the emptiness realm. Indeed, one needed to comprehend heaven and earth. The toxic dragon drill that I was practicing just now contained the concept of the water element fist. Maybe it sensed it. This azure wand's eyes are quite sharp. Comprehend the heavenly Tao. Li Jun was also slightly surprised. Tell it that I'm willing to compete with it. Tung Qing Shan smiled. According to the legends, this blue wand is a divine bird. If a human had not reached the emptiness realm, he would definitely not be a match for the blue wand. I don't believe it. Li Jun immediately raised her head and told the blue wand that Tung Qing Shan was willing to compete with her. Screech! The blue wand immediately let out an excited cry. Immediately, a fiery red phantom streaked across the sky and dove straight towards Tung Qing Shan. Tung Qing Shan didn't dare to be careless. He held his reincarnation spear and stood at the side of the boat on high alert. Ooh! A stream of hot air filled the air. Tung Qing Shan could only see two blurry claw shadows. So fast, Tung Qing Shan immediately executed the Transmutation Unity Law spear art. The spearhead danced like a phantom, and with a clang sound, Tung Qing Shan was forced to retreat a few steps. Every step he took caused the tungsten wood vessel to shake violently. Fortunately, Tung Qing Shan controlled himself. Otherwise, he would have cracked the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. The blue wand also retreated. Screech! The blue wand was very excited. Let's go down and fight. Tung Qing Shan shouted loudly and jumped down from the tungsten wood vessel barefooted. If they were to fight on the tungsten wood vessel, Tung Qing Shan was afraid that his tungsten wood vessel would be destroyed after the battle. And Tung Qing Shan's worry was not groundless. Just a single clash had caused the vibrating shockwave to leave scratches on the mast. Moreover, the mast was made of the hardest and thickest tungsten wood in the entire vessel. Big Brother Tung! Li Jun hastily rushed to the bow of the vessel and looked down. The whole Gale Eagle was also watching from the side. It seemed to have realized Li Jun's worry and even used its head to gently nudge Li Jun to comfort her. Yes. Li Jun looked down nervously. She saw Tung Qing Shan standing on the surface of the sea with only his ankles submerged in the water. The waves under his feet were constantly rolling, as if there was a powerful force acting on the waves. Actually, ordinary people who were good at swimming could tread on water. With Tung Qing Shan's current unimaginable physical strength, he could easily produce a force of over 1,000 Jin by treading on water with his feet submerged in the water. It was simply too easy to withstand the force of one person. Clang! 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 Tung Qing Shan was fighting with the blue wand on the surface of the sea, about 10 zhang away from the tungsten wood vessel. The reincarnation spear in Tung Qing Shan's hands seemed to have transformed into a silver dragon. The spearhead even transformed into dense phantoms. No matter how fast the blue wand was or how fierce its attacks were, it was simply unable to break through Tung Qing Shan's set of defensive spear arts. After cultivating the earth element fist to the second stage and using the reincarnation spear, it was truly impenetrable. Tung Qing Shan's defense was truly terrifying. The blue wand is indeed a divine bird. Tung Qing Shan's eyes were as sharp as knives. The minute movements within a zhang's radius are too terrifying. The blue wand's sharp claws were able to move horizontally by 1 qi in an instant. This kind of minute movements often caught people off guard. At first glance, the blue wand's claws were aimed at his neck, but in the blink of an eye, it was attacking his chest. The shadow of the claws seemed to be divided into two. Tung Qing Shan had never encountered this kind of strange and frightening subtle and sudden change. Terrifying. No wonder the legends say that if a human had not reached the emptiness realm, he would definitely not be a match for the blue wand. Tung Qing Shan was very clear. Tung Qing Shan's earth element fist had reached the second stage and was already deep into the Tao. If it was another Golden Dan innate expert, he would definitely not be able to block this series of attacks. Screech. The blue wand seemed to be excited from the killing and screeched loudly. Phew, phew. Through the slight vibrations of its wings and the control of the flames on its body, the blue wand could continuously move horizontally within a small area and change its attacking position. It even made Tung Qingshan's vision blur as 3 or 4 blue wand phantoms appeared in front of him. Tung Qingshan could not rely on his eyes to lock onto his opponent. Clang! Clang! Tung Qingshan's series of defenses were perfect and flawless. When the transmutation unity law was executed, Tung Qingshan could feel a shapeless force surrounding him. It could be called the earth elemental power of the heavens and earth. It was because of this earth elemental power that Tung Qingshan was able to block the blue wand's attacks with ease. It was impossible for the blue wand to continuously attack crazily. She also needed to adjust. Toxic Dragon Drill. Tung Qingshan aimed and changed his spear art, executing the Toxic Dragon Drill. Buzz! The space seemed to have been drilled and exploded, and a silver lightning flashed. Phew! The blue wand, who was caught off guard, flapped its wings slightly and instantly moved 2 chi horizontally. The tip of Tung Qingshan's reincarnation spear brushed past the blue wand's wings. Screech! The blue wand immediately took the opportunity to claw. Tung Qingshan immediately changed his spear art to the Transmutation Unity Law Spear Art. It was flawless. Clang! It forcefully blocked the blue wand's fierce claw. A man and a demonic beast fought on the surface of the sea for a long time before they finally separated. Screech! The blue wand looked at Tung Qingshan and nodded its head. After fighting for such a long time, it also admired this human spear art. You are also very powerful. Tung Qingshan smiled. The blue wand deserved to be called a divine bird. Its subtle movements could be said to be instantaneous movement, which was simply inconceivable. Following a piercing cry, the blue wand, whose entire body was enveloped in flames, flapped its wings and transformed into a fiery red phantom, disappearing into the northern horizon. Whoosh! Tung Qingshan also continuously treaded on the water and leaped over Tianzhong before landing on the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. Big Brother Tung, the blue wand, said that you are very powerful and that your spear art is very amazing. Li Jun hastily said. Tung Qingshan glanced at the northern horizon and said, "This blue wand is also very powerful. From the beginning to the end, it only relied on its lightning-fast movements in this small area and its sharp claws to attack me. This blue wand's flames are also very powerful. It didn't use its flames to attack me." Yes. Li Jun also looked at the northern horizon and said, the divine bird blue wand was indeed only competing with each other, moving in this small area. Tung Qingshan exclaimed in admiration. This is a very terrifying qin gong. If anyone could master this qin gong, to be able to move in an instant and reach the level of the blue wand, that would be very powerful. Tung Qingshan had never seen anyone with this kind of qin gong. Even other demonic beasts had done it before. Perhaps only the blue wand, with its innate talent, could do it. If my spear art, Toxic Dragon Drill, could be faster, the blue wand wouldn't be able to dodge it. Tung Qingshan thought to himself. When competing with the divine bird, blue wand, Tung Qingshan also felt that he was not strong enough. He had only comprehended the first move of the water element fist, while he had comprehended 2 large sections of the earth element fist, a total of 6 moves. The difference was huge. After this battle, Tung Qingshan concentrated on training even more seriously. He worked hard to increase the speed of the Toxic Dragon Drill. He would rather reduce the attack power, but the speed had to be fast enough. After all, with Tung Qingshan's current physical strength, even if the attack power of the Toxic Dragon Drill was reduced by 20%, ordinary Golden Dan, innate demonic beasts, and humans wouldn't be able to withstand it. He would rather reduce the attack power, but the speed had to be fast. It was easy to think, but difficult to do. Tung Qingshan immersed himself in training. On the 6th night after the battle with the blue wand, it was very quiet in the tungstenwood cabin. Voila! The sound of the sea could be faintly heard from outside the cabin. Tung Ching Shan sat cross-legged on the cotton blanket and meditated. Voila! Boom! The sound of the waves outside was very noisy. However, there were many situations on the sea, so Tung Ching Shan usually didn't care. But today, Tung Ching Shan opened his eyes. Something's wrong. Tung Ching Shan frowned and said, the tungstenwood vessel's speed was extremely fast. Then it slowed down. After that, it sped up and slowed down again. This process has been repeated 3 times. It's very regular. Tung Ching Shan felt that something was wrong. It wasn't strange for the tungstenwood vessel to speed up while drifting on the sea. However, it was strange for the tungstenwood vessel to speed up and decelerate in a regular manner. Tung Ching Shan stood up and opened the cabin door. Voila! Big brother Tung, is something wrong outside? Li Jun's voice came from behind the curtain. There shouldn't be anything wrong. I'll go out and take a look, Tung Ching Shan said and closed the cabin door. On the deck of the tungstenwood vessel, the whole gale eagle was curled up and sleeping next to the mast. When Tung Ching Shan came up, it stood up. Screech, the whole gale eagle immediately came over. Don't mess around. Tung Ching Shan smiled and glanced at the whole gale eagle. He then stood at the bow of the vessel and carefully looked at the sea. With Tung Ching Shan's eyesight, even if it was nighttime, he could still see very clearly. The seawater on the entire surface of the sea was very turbulent. The speed is increasing, Tung Ching Shan observed while feeling the speed of the tungstenwood vessel. After a long time, suddenly, Tung Ching Shan could clearly see that the speed of the water's flow began to slow down. This is the 4th time, Tung Ching Shan observed with a frown. Each time, the speed alternated between fast and slow, and the distance was about 10 li. Although Tung Ching Shan felt that it was strange, he was a bold and skilled person. He wasn't afraid of any strange areas in the sea. Even if it was dangerous, he could just ride the whole gale eagle to the sky. Therefore, he carefully observed this strange area of sea with peace of mind. Although the speed of the seawater alternated between fast and slow, even if it was slow, it was only relative. When Tung Ching Shan counted to the 7th time. What's that? Tung Ching Shan stared at the far north, at the seemingly boundless coastline that spread out. Tung Ching Shan stared blankly. I've only been at sea for 3 months. I reckon that I haven't reached the northern sea continent yet. P.S. 3 chapters completed. Tomato updated 21 chapters in 7 days from the 5th to the 11th, ending the outburst. Of course, Tomato didn't forget the 3 chapters he owed everyone. He should return them in a few days. Chapter 308. The tungstenwood vessel floated rapidly along the turbulent sea. Li Jun quickly came out from the bow of the vessel and stood side by side with Tung Ching Shan as they gazed at the northernmost coastline. The 8th time, Tung Ching Shan still remembered the alternating speed of the water and the speed of the seawater. Big brother Tung, you said that there's a huge island in front. Li Jun said in surprise. She carefully looked to the north, but she could only see a stretch of darkness, and only the whistling of the sea breeze could be heard. Tung Ching Shan nodded. You'll see it later. Unlike him, Li Jun didn't possess the power of the night. After a long time, the 9th time, Tung Ching Shan found that the speed of the ship had decreased again. Even though it was slow, it was still faster than the usual speed on the sea. At this moment, the so-called speed was even more shocking. Pung! Suddenly, there was a violent collision. The entire tungstenwood vessel suddenly jolted. Tung Ching Shan frowned. Not good. There are submerged reefs below. Hidden reef? Li Jun's expression also changed slightly. If it was a reef protruding out of the water, he could have seen it long ago and avoided it. However, some of the reefs were below the surface of the water. The depth of the tungstenwood vessel's draft was just enough to touch these reefs. This made it impossible for anyone to avoid it. He could only rely on luck. Pung! Another collision. The tungstenwood vessel swayed again. Li Jun hastily grabbed the bow of the vessel, fearing that she would fall into the sea. It should be fine. Tung Ching Shan comforted him. This tungsten wood vessel is made of tungsten wood, which is harder than steel and has better tenacity. Furthermore, the bottom was thickened to withstand the impact. We ran into many submerged reefs along the way, but we were fine. They had to make it through this reef area. Everything would be fine. Pung, pung, pung. Again and again, the tungsten wood vessel shook. The ship's speed was so fast, and the collision was so violent. Even a ship made of real steel would have a big hole in it. Fortunately, it was made of tungsten wood, which was much more tenacious and could withstand the impact. Moments later, Big Brother Tung, I see it, I see it. Could it be that we have arrived at the northern sea continent? With the help of the blurry moonlight, Li Jun finally managed to see the long coastline. Especially when she looked closer, she couldn't see the end of it. Right now, we are only a few li away from the island. Tung Ching Shan looked at the turbulent sea. The tungsten wood vessel violently shook again and crashed into a submerged reef. Tung Ching Shan, on the other hand, was calculating in his mind, alternating between fast and slow speeds. Each time the distance is tens of miles. This is the 9th time. In other words, there are a total of 9 interlocking zones. 9 interlocking zones. Tung Ching Shan carefully looked at the land several li ahead. The vegetation on the beach was very lush. Gee! The tungsten wood vessel stopped at the seaside. Tung Ching Shan dropped the anchor and stopped steadily. Little June, let's go down and take a look, Tung Ching Shan said. As usual, Li Jun and Tung Ching Shan got off the boat together. Screech, the whole gale eagle also flew up and disembarked the boat. By the time Tung Ching Shan and the others arrived at the seashore, the sky had already begun to brighten. On the beach, Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun walked side by side on the beach. Suddenly, Tung Ching Shan's expression changed. He turned his head to look at the lush vegetation and shouted, "Come out!" Swoosh, swoosh. A chaotic sound immediately came from the lush vegetation. Tung Ching Shan's body moved like a strong gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, he had already rushed into the lush vegetation. Li Jun waited at the same spot. She trusted Tung Ching Shan very much. Soon, Big Brother Tung. Li Jun smiled and shouted. At this moment, Tung Ching Shan grabbed a middle-aged man and walked back. "Hero, spare my life. Hero, spare my life." The middle-aged man repeatedly said. "Hero?" Li Jun looked at the middle-aged man in surprise. In a land of the 9 prefectures, the term hero was rarely heard. Most importantly, although the middle-aged man's accent was a bit awkward, his language was obviously the language of the land of the 9 prefectures. "I will ask you one question, and you will answer one question. Be honest." Tung Ching Shan was holding a sharp sword in his hand. This was the middle-aged man's weapon. The middle-aged man hastily said, "I am Shangwan Quan." Shangwan? That's a rather rare surname. Li Jun muttered at the side. The middle-aged man, called Shangwan Quan, hastily explained, "Heroine, what you said is wrong. Shangwan is a big surname in our northern Yin town." Northern Yin town? Tung Ching Shan's heart stirred. "How many people do you have in northern Yin town?" Tung Ching Shan asked. Shangwan Quan was startled. He seemed to be puzzled by Tung Ching Shan's question. Tung Ching Shan's face darkened. "I will ask, and you will answer. If you hesitate." Tung Ching Shan exerted force, and the sharp sword in his hand was immediately twisted into a dough twist. Soon after, a crisp sound rang out, and a large amount of crushed iron powder fell from Tung Ching Shan's palm. Hardcore fan. Shangwan Quan was stunned. It wasn't difficult to twist a sword into a dough twist. It wasn't difficult to break a few pieces, but to twist a sword into iron powder was simply inconceivable. Shangwan Quan was swept by Tung Ching Shan's gaze and then looked at his hardcore fan. He felt a chill in his heart and hastily said, "I estimate that my northern Yin town has a few 100,000 people. How many towns are there on the island?" Tung Ching Shan asked again. Although Shangwan Quan was curious as to why Tung Ching Shan would ask such an ordinary question, he didn't dare to hesitate. "My Bright Moon Island has a total of 18 towns." Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. Even on some of the islands in the coastal waters of the land of the 9 prefectures, it would be considered good if an island had a population of several tens of thousands. Those that had a population of several hundreds of thousands were all very large islands. They didn't expect that, in the depths of the North Sea, there was actually a large island with an estimated population of over 10 million. Why did you come to the seaside so early in the morning? Tung Shan asked. I'm a fisherman. Shangwan Quan hastily said, I came here in the morning. Fishermen carry sharp swords? I saw that your swordsmanship just now wasn't bad. Tung Shan's complexion sank. When he went to grab Tung Shan's desperate sword strike was indeed very powerful. Shangwan Quan looked at Tung Shan in surprise. Great hero, we entered this sword school to learn swordsmanship since we were young. Who in the surrounding villages doesn't know swordsmanship? Great hero, why do you say that? Sword school? Li Jun was stunned. On the other hand, Tung Shan was shocked. Could it be that the sword school was the same as the society in his previous life? Everyone had to learn swordsmanship since they were young? What kind of island was this? Over 10 million people learned swordsmanship. Even in the entire Yangzhou, although there were 200 to 300 million people. However, the number of people who could truly learn inner strength, swordsmanship, and so on was probably only 10 million people. The other ordinary commoners basically didn't have the opportunity. They only knew 2 or 3 moves of the banker. All of them learned swordsmanship? Tung Shan asked. Do they learn other weapons? What about axes and sabers? Axes can chop trees. Sabers can chop timber. Shangwan Quan hastily said. However, the most powerful one is naturally the swordsmanship. The outstanding disciples of the sword school have very powerful swordsmanship. Yes, do you have any money? Tung Shan suddenly asked. Yes, I do. The fisherman hastily took out a beautiful white pearl from his bosom. Tung Shan took a roundabout way to ask this fisherman, Shangwan Quan, and finally had a general understanding of the entire Bright Moon Island. The currency of the Bright Moon Island wasn't gold or silver. Instead, it was the unique pearls of the Bright Moon Island. They were divided into purple pearls, white pearls, and gray pearls. The most expensive one was the purple pearls. A purple pearl was roughly equivalent to 100 white pearls, and a white pearl was equivalent to 100 gray pearls. In order to prevent the tungsten wood vessel from being stolen by other fishermen, Tung Shan once again returned to the tungsten wood vessel. He rowed and forcefully advanced several li towards the south. However, after a few li, the seawater became turbulent and turbulent. Even though Tung Shan rowed very quickly, he was still barely able to offset the speed of the current. From this, it could be seen how fast the current was. Immediately after, Tung Shan dived into the water and pulled the iron rope. He pulled the tungsten wood vessel forward for around 2 li and then stuck the iron anchor of the tungsten wood vessel on a reef. The current is so turbulent that even an innate expert would find it very difficult to swim in the undercurrent of a powerful sea. Tung Shan was at ease leaving the tungsten wood vessel here. He then dismantled the reincarnation spear and put it into his bag. He also took out an iron leaf fruit and put it into his bag before leaving the tungsten wood vessel. On the beach. Let's go. Tung Shan, Li Jun, and the kidnapped fisherman, Shangwan Quan, set off together. On a desolate dirt road, Tung Shan and Li Jun carried their bags and set off together with Shangwan Quan. Meanwhile, the whole Gale Eagle was circling in the sky. Shangwan Quan didn't know the relationship between the whole Gale Eagle and the 2 people in front of him. Hero, you're too powerful. You can carry a big boat so far by yourself? Shangwan Quan was full of admiration. That's the legendary 9-rhythm treacherous current. Even the powerful disciples of the Sword Tower wouldn't dare to enter the 9-rhythm treacherous current. Many fishermen would drown if they swam over without permission. Tung Shan smiled. 9-rhythm treacherous current? This name wasn't bad. According to Tung Shan's observation, the undercurrent was so turbulent that even innate experts could swim by themselves. If they had to drag a big boat forward, Even a Golden Dan innate expert wouldn't be able to last long. After all, they couldn't last as long as Tung Ching Shan. 9 rhythm? Who named it? Tung Ching Shan's heart stirred. It seemed like someone on the Bright Moon Island knew that there were 9 speeds of acceleration. It's been a long time, Shangguan Quan said. In any case, it's been passed down from generation to generation. However, no one was able to pass through the 9-rhythm treacherous current. Hero, did you come from the outside? Shangguan Quan was also a bit aware of this. Tung Ching Shan smiled and glanced at him. The less you know, the more you'll live. Shangguan Quan felt a chill in his heart. When he thought of Tung Ching Shan's terrifying means, he nodded. Little June, let's take a look at the Bright Moon Island. Later, let's get some food on the boat. Tung Ching Shan said. Li Jun nodded. She was tired of eating grilled fish. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun didn't hide the existence of Shangguan Quan when they talked. As an island resident, he would just stroll around and get some goods before leaving. Why would he need to care about others? Not long after, Tung Ching Shan and the others walked on a main road and saw a village not far away. That's the village I live in, Shangguan Quan said with a smile. Tung Ching Shan glanced over. Huh, a group of children who looked to be only 5 or 6 or 7 years old were holding branches and practicing a set of sword techniques. With Tung Ching Shan's eyesight, he was able to judge this sword art is actually a top-notch sword art. The ordinary children in the village practice a top-notch sword art. The children are practicing swordsmanship so that they can enter our Northern Yin Town sword school in the future, Shangguan Quan said with a smile. Only by working hard when you're young can you stand out in the 18-town sword schools and enter the Sword Tower, becoming a powerful disciple of the Sword Tower. Chapter 309. In this simple village, 5 or 6-year-old children were seriously practicing their sword arts. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun looked at each other in shock. Yes, Shangguan Quan, lead the way to your Northern Yin village. Tung Ching Shan opened his mouth and said. Shangguan Quan hastily responded with a smile. The town is only a few dozen li away from here. It won't take long. He hastily led the way in front. In this village, many villagers also greeted Shangguan Quan. When others asked him why he didn't go to the seaside, Shangguan Quan pretended to be nonchalant and said, Yes, I will accompany my 2 friends to the town. Shangguan Quan had seen Tung Ching Shan's martial arts and didn't want to offend Tung Ching Shan. He knew that even if the entire village joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for this mysterious man. On the spacious road, the morning sun shone on the land. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun carried their backpacks, while Shangguan Quan answered their questions at the side. After chatting for a while, Tung Ching Shan confirmed one thing. According to the fishermen, the length and width of Bright Moon Island is only 700 to 800 li. It is about the same size as Jiangning County. The Northern Sea continent is equivalent to 2 provinces. The difference is very big. Tung Ching Shan knew Bright Moon Island wasn't the Northern Sea continent. When he asked the fisherman if he knew about the Godly Axe Mountain, the fisherman shook his head blankly. You said that the generals are amazing? How many generals are there on Bright Moon Island? Tung Ching Shan asked. There are a total of 18 generals in the 18 towns of Bright Moon Island. Shangguan Quan said, Of course, the general of Wuhai Town in the north is the island master of Bright Moon Island. The general is the island master? Li Jun asked in surprise. Actually, since Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun came by boat, and the questions they asked were all basic information, Shangguan Quan had already guessed that they were outsiders. Although he was surprised, Shangguan Quan was just an ordinary fisherman. He didn't dare to have any other thoughts. Our Bright Moon Island has 18 towns and 18 general residences that have existed for more than 1,000 years. Between the 18 generals, there are competitions. If the most powerful general can obtain the support of the Sword Tower, he can become the island master of our Bright Moon Island. Support from the Sword Tower? Tung Ching Shan had heard of the Sword Tower more than once. Obviously, in this Bright Moon Island, the 18 general statuses were high, but the sword tower status was even higher. Of course, Shangguan Quan's eyes revealed a look of admiration. The Tower Lord of the Sword Tower is absolutely the #1 expert of our Bright Moon Island, an invincible existence. Even with the protection of tens of thousands of soldiers, the Tower Lord of the Sword Tower could easily take the head of the enemy general. Therefore, in the 18 generals' residences, no one dares to disobey the Sword Tower's orders. Tung Qingshan and Li Jun looked at each other. The status of the Sword Tower was indeed extraordinary. "Where's the Sword Tower?" Tung Qingshan asked. Shangguan Quan pointed to the east. "Look over there." Tung Qingshan and Li Jun also looked to the east. "Don't you guys see that there are 2 mountains that are close to each other over there?" Although it was very far in the east, they could still see the 2 towering mountains. The mountain in the northeast is where the Sword Tower is located. Shangguan Quan looked into the distance with a misty gaze. The mountain in the southeast is the forbidden area of our entire Bright Moon Island. Legend has it that only the most outstanding experts of the Sword Tower have the opportunity to enter the forbidden area occasionally. Sword Tower? Forbidden area? Tung Qingshan looked at the 2 mountains that were adjacent to each other in the distance. Just by relying on his eyesight, Tung Qingshan was unable to determine how far the 2 mountains were from here. "How far is the Sword Tower from here?" Tung Qingshan asked. "About 100 li away," Shangguan Quan said with a smile. "Our northern Yin town can be considered as one of the 3 towns closest to the Sword Tower. In our northern Yin town, in some restaurants and other places, we can occasionally meet the disciples of the Sword Tower. Every one of them who can enter the Sword Tower has an extremely powerful sword art." Li Jun asked with a smile. "How powerful?" "To deal with people like me, 1 move is enough," Shangguan Quan said. Li Jun was not surprised, but Tung Qingshan was secretly amazed. Tung Qingshan had seen Shangguan Quan's sword art before. To be able to defeat Shangguan Quan in 1 move, the sword art must be extremely shocking. According to the fishermen, the entire Bright Moon Island has a very long history. It has been passed down from generation to generation and seems to only focus on sword arts. The other saber arts have not been researched much. However, the strength of this sword art, I'm afraid none of the 8 major sects in the land of the 9 prefectures have such achievements. Specializing in sword arts, unlike the 8 major sects, they need to worry about their own status. There was no doubt that the Bright Moon Island Sword Tower had control over the Bright Moon Island. After thousands of years, countless generations of people researched sword arts. The sword arts of the Sword Tower had indeed reached an unimaginable level. "The distance is too far. I have been on the sea for more than 3 months. Moreover, the wind has been favorable for these 3 months. Now, it is estimated to be 80 to 90,000 li away from the land of the 9 prefectures." Tung Qingshan guessed. Drifting on the sea, when the wind was favorable, the speed would be fast. Later on, when the wind was against the wind, even if the sails were controlled, the speed would still be very slow. It is 80 to 90,000 li away from the land of the 9 prefectures. Who would have thought that there would be such a paradise-like island specializing in sword arts? Tung Qingshan exclaimed. More than 10 million people, generation after generation, specializing in sword arts. Halfway through the journey, Tung Qingshan suddenly took out the iron leaf fruit from his bag. What kind of gem is this?" Shangguan Quan's eyes widened. "It is completely green, about the size of my fist. Moreover, it seems to be faintly transparent. I have never heard of such a big gem on our island." "Gem?" Tung Qingshan smiled and put his index and middle fingers together. Whoosh! A strand of earthy yellow sword light emerged from the tip of his sword finger, faintly flickering. Innate? Although Shangguan Quan had already realized it, he was still shocked. Tung Qingshan looked at the earthy yellow sword light at the tip of his finger. Actually, this wasn't formed by the innate, true origin, but was condensed from the internal supreme force. Was the sword light formed by the internal supreme force called sword aura? Tung Shan thought to himself. He immediately smiled and used the sword aura to dig out a piece the size of an egg from the iron leaf fruit. Big brother Tung, what are you doing? Li Jun was slightly surprised. Tung Shan smiled and put the rest of the iron leaf fruit into his bag. Tung Shan rubbed the egg-sized iron leaf fruit between his hands, and the internal supreme force flickered. Immediately, some chips fell off. After a while, the iron leaf fruit became smooth. An egg-sized green pearl was born. Little Jun, how much do you think this thing is worth? Tung Shan looked at Li Jun. Big brother Tung, what do you mean? Li Jun's eyes brightened as she understood. They didn't have the currency of the bright moon island. Ordinary people liked rare and beautiful things. The rarer, more beautiful, and more incredible things were, the more expensive they were. The iron leaf fruit was dug out by Tung Shan into such a small piece. It was like a top-grade emerald, emitting a green light in the dark night. It was no wonder that Shangwan Quan called it a gem. Shangwan Quan, how much do you think this is worth? Tung Shan looked at Shangwan Quan. Shangwan Quan's eyes brightened as he took a deep breath and said, "It's worth at least 100 purple pearls, or maybe even more." Purple pearls, white pearls, and gray pearls were 3 levels of currency. Tung Shan estimated that 100 purple pearls was equivalent to 100 taels of gold in the land of the 9 prefectures. If it was worth that much, it would be enough for Tung Shan to exchange for some delicious food, clothes, food, and many other items. Tung Shan and the others hurried towards the town of Northern Yin Town. At this moment, at the military camp stationed by the seaside of Northern Yin Town, on top of a tall tower, a soldier was carefully observing the situation. "And what's that?" The soldier carefully looked towards the south. "A ship." The soldier's facial expression changed drastically. "How is this possible? Why would a ship appear in the southern sea of the 9-rhythm, treacherous currents?" The soldier didn't dare to believe it. Could it be that someone is riding a ship to search for treasures? However, there are a lot of submerged reefs in the southern sea. With the speed of the 9-rhythm treacherous currents and so many submerged reefs, an ordinary ship should have already been smashed and sunk. "Report to Lord Deputy General." The soldier immediately went to report. In the town of Northern Yin Town, among the bustling crowd, Tung Shan and Li Jun were strolling around the town with Shangwan Quan. Although it was called a town, it was actually as prosperous as a city. That's right. Under the control of the Sword Tower, there are almost no wars on the Bright Moon Island. They don't even need to build a city wall. It's normal for it to be more prosperous. Tung Shan nodded to himself. "Great hero, that is the Southern Sun treasure shop that I mentioned before." Shangwan Quan pointed to a shop not far away. The front door was 5 zhong wide, and the shop was luxuriously decorated. The 2 words Southern Sun on the signboard were the same words used in the land of the 9 prefectures. This Bright Moon Island is definitely related to the land of the 9 prefectures. Tung Shan was even more certain of this. Although they were separated by thousands of li, the words, languages, and many other things were the same. "Sir, what would you like to buy?" Just as Tung Shan and Li Jun stepped into the treasure shop, a handsome young man carrying a sword on his back greeted them. This handsome young man was slightly shocked when he saw that the bearded man didn't carry a sword. "Do you accept precious gems?" Tung Shan glanced at the handsome young man. The handsome young man politely replied, "Of course we do." Tung Shan flipped his hand and revealed the egg-sized green pearl. Immediately after, Tung Shan put it away. The handsome young man's eyes lit up when he saw it. He immediately determined that it was a treasure and hastily said, "Please follow me." In the back hall, Tung Shan and Li Jun sat down, while Shangwan Quan stood respectfully at the side. An old man was carefully observing the pearl that was separated from the iron leaf fruit. TSK, unbelievable, unbelievable. Such a big pearl. It's green? The old man observed it carefully. Occasionally, he would cover it with a cloth and observe it in the dark. It's faintly glowing. What kind of pearl is this? I've never seen it or heard of it. Tung Shan smiled. Not to mention this old man. Even he himself had never seen such a strange substance like the iron leaf fruit in the land of the 9 prefectures. Moreover, it's quite heavy. The old man weighed it and said, "It's only this big, but it's about 1 gene. What is it?" An iron leaf fruit weighed about 5 gene, and this was only a small part of it. "Have you seen it?" Tung Ching Shan frowned. The old man hastily raised his head to look at Tung Ching Shan and said with a smile, "It's a good item. Give me a price." Not only was it a good item, it was something that had never been seen on the Bright Moon Island. Even an ordinary green pearl of this size would be extremely expensive, not to mention the fact that it was made of a material that had never been seen before. Chapter 310. 1,000 Purple Pearls. Tung Ching Shan directly quoted the price. 1,000 purple pearls were equivalent to 1,000 taels of gold in the land of the 9 prefectures. Tung Ching Shan was not Shangwan Quan, a fisherman without much experience. Tung Ching Shan was very clear that this was a treasure that had never been seen before. It was not excessive to say that it was worth 10,000 taels of gold. However, no matter how many purple pearls there were, it was meaningless to Tung Ching Shan. After all, Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun were going to leave after staying for a while. 1,000 purple pearls was enough for Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun to buy as much as they wanted. "All right, 1,000 purple pearls it is," the old man replied with a smile, not trying to bargain at all. He secretly laughed in his heart. This bearded young man doesn't look like he's a rich man. I guess he doesn't know the market price of these treasures. He didn't know that Tung Ching Shan came to Bright Moon Island to buy some supplies and was about to leave. "Here are 1,000 purple pearls." The old man handed a big bag to Tung Ching Shan. Tung Ching Shan opened it and saw many beautiful purple pearls. However, since they could be used as currency, it was obvious that there were many purple pearls on Bright Moon Island. Tung Ching Shan weighed it and estimated that there were around 1,000 purple pearls. He then stood up and said, "Yes, we are even. May I ask, where did you two get these green pearls?" The old man hastily asked. Tung Ching Shan smiled and left with Li Jun, leaving behind only one sentence: "Just luck." Shangwan Quan obediently followed Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun. In this town, Tung Ching Shan bought a bag of grain, some seasonings for cooking, many fruits, and some food that could be stored for a long time. He also bought a lot of clothes, shoes, and socks. "I finally have enough clothes to change into." At this moment, Tung Ching Shan had changed into a clean blue outfit. His long black hair was loose, and his face was covered with stubble. After everything was bought, the sun was high up in the sky. Tung Ching Shan and Li Jun decided to have a good meal in this town. How could the food they ate on the sea compare to the food in this restaurant? "Hero, this Golden Sword restaurant is the best restaurant in our northern Yin town." After Tung Ching Shan said, "Go to the best restaurant, don't save money for us," Shangwan Quan took Tung Ching Shan and the others to the Golden Sword restaurant. On the second floor of the Golden Sword restaurant, it was not yet noon, so there were not many people. There seems to be a lot of variety. Tung Ching Shan flipped through the menu and passed it to Li Jun. "Little Jun, choose whatever you like. You sit down too." Tung Ching Shan looked at Shangwan Quan. "Eat with us. Run with us for a day. We won't treat you badly." Shangwan Quan sat down in surprise and said, "Thank you, hero. Let's see what the taste is like here." Li Jun said with a smile. She and Tung Ching Shan ordered a total of 18 dishes. It was indeed extravagant for 3 people to eat 18 dishes. However, Tung Ching Shan and the others came with the idea of trying something new. After a while, the table was already filled with dishes. Tung Ching Shan used his chopsticks to eat again and again. Not bad, not bad. The taste is indeed not bad." Anyone who suddenly ate such a sumptuous feast after drifting on the sea for more than 3 months would exclaim in admiration. Li Jun was a girl, so she was more reserved and ate slowly. She was not like Tung Ching Shan, who wolfed down the food. Clack, clack, clack. 2 youths wearing white outfits and carrying cyan sheath swords on their backs went up the stairs to the second floor. "Hero, look, Shangguan Quan was slightly excited as he said, "Those two are disciples of the Sword Tower." Tung Qingshan turned his head and glanced at the two youths. There was a sword-shaped emblem on the left chest of the white outfits they were wearing. Look at their eyes and their steps. They look like expert swordsmen. Tung Qingshan thought to himself. Of course, even though he admired them, Tung Qingshan did not take them seriously. There were only 10 million people in the entire Bright Moon Island. According to the ratio, there might not even be an emptiness realm expert. According to Emperor Yu, the 9 sources of the spirit veins of heaven and earth were all in the land of the 9 prefectures, and he used the 9 cauldrons to suppress them. The land of the 9 prefectures was the core of the entire world. The spiritual chi of the heavens and earth was the most abundant there. The spiritual chi of some ordinary islands in the northern sea continent could not compare to the land of the 9 prefectures. It would be even more difficult for other places to produce emptiness realm experts than the land of the 9 prefectures. When the 2 disciples of the Sword Tower came up, they attracted the attention of many people on the second floor. The 2 disciples of the Sword Tower did not mind, as they were already used to it. "Senior Marshal Brother, let's sit over there." The 2 disciples of the Sword Tower chose to sit by the window, which was not far from Tung Qingshan's table. Junior Marshal Brother, look over there. That purple-clothed girl seems to be looking at us. This purple-clothed girl doesn't look like an ordinary villager. She should be from a large clan. Northern Yin Town is only so big. If a beautiful girl like her was from Northern Yin Town, we should know her. The 2 disciples of the Sword Tower also smiled and raised their cups to Li Jun. "Miss, there are only 2 people at our table. Why don't you come to our table? Isn't it wonderful to drink and chat together?" One of the paler youths said with a smile. The disciples of the Sword Tower were all geniuses of the Bright Moon Island. Each and every one of them was arrogant. At Tung Qingshan's table, Tung Qingshan and Li Jun glanced at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Tung Qingshan chuckled and said, "You two can drink. Don't have any ideas about my sister." The 2 disciples of the Sword Tower's faces darkened. On the Bright Moon Island, there weren't many people who dared to speak like this to the disciples of the Sword Tower. "Who are you? Tell us your name." One of the dark-skinned youths frowned and shouted, "Tell us your name? Little fellow, be obedient and drink your wine." As Tung Qingshan spoke, he raised his head and drank the entire cup. He clicked his tongue as he reminisced. "This wine tastes pretty good." Phew! The 2 disciples of the Sword Tower stood up and stared at Tung Qingshan with sharp eyes. The dark-skinned youth said coldly, "Brother, your words should be considered as a provocation to the disciples of the Sword Tower." The entire second floor of the restaurant quietened down and looked over. Provocation? Tung Qingshan turned his head and looked at the 2 of them. "Provoke you?" He couldn't help but laugh and continued to drink, completely ignoring the 2 of them. "Arrogant." The dark-skinned youth snorted angrily. "Let's see if you have the ability to be arrogant." With a clang sound, he pulled out the sharp sword on his back. A disagreement, and a sword was drawn against each other. "Take this," the skinned youth shouted sternly. A sharp cold light instantly streaked across the sky and pierced towards Tung Qingshan's throat. Tung Qingshan held the wine cup in his right hand and waved his left hand without even looking at it. Pa! Tung Qingshan's palm directly grabbed the sharp sword. The skinned youth's facial expression changed drastically. He tried to pull out the sword, but Tung Qingshan's palm was behind the sword. No matter how much strength he exerted, he couldn't make the sword move. How is this possible? How can his palm grab the sword? Is his hand comparable to a divine weapon? "Senior." The pale-skinned youth was shocked and wanted to pull out the sword. Tung Qingshan's left hand shook violently. "Gotcha." The skinned youth felt his wrist instantly crack. The sword's hilt directly hit his abdomen. With a burst of sharp pain, his whole body was thrown into the air. At the same time, the junior behind him was also knocked to the side. The tables and chairs were knocked and rolled away. The 2 of them also fell to the ground in embarrassment. What kind of strength is this? He grabbed the sword's blade while I grabbed the sword's hilt. Yet, he was able to crack my wrist. What kind of strength circulation method is this? The pair of prodigies fell to the ground, dumbfounded. Tung Shan threw the sword away. Clang! It hit the ground and made a crisp sound. Tool guys. Tung Shan stood up and looked at the two with a smile. Provoke? You said I provoked you? What qualifications do you have for me to provoke you? The two disciples of the Sword Tower looked at each other. Indeed, in front of this mysterious expert, their behavior was indeed ridiculous. Provoke them? Did the two of them have the qualifications for the other party to provoke them? To be able to become disciples of the Sword Tower, it means that the two of you have good talent. Tung Shan looked at the two of them and said with a faint smile, however, if you want to become a true expert, talent and comprehension are secondary. Perseverance and temperament are more important. Don't put on airs in the restaurant all day. If you have time, meditate and train diligently. Otherwise, it will be like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you will fall back. Tung Shan's words caused the expressions of the two disciples of the Sword Tower to change constantly. Ashamed? Difficult to endure? Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. One of them stood up and said respectfully. The other also stood up and expressed his gratitude respectfully. Little June, let's go. Tung Shan also ate and drank to his heart's content. Okay. Li Jun smiled and left side by side with Tung Shan. Shangguan Quan, who was at the side, immediately followed. When he noticed that the people on the second floor of the restaurant were looking at Tung Shan as if they were looking at an otherworldly expert, Shangguan Quan immediately puffed out his chest and followed Tung Shan and Li Jun down the stairs with large strides. At this moment, Shangguan Quan felt very proud. At noon, on the southern beach of the Bright Moon Island, a large number of soldiers wearing simple armor and carrying sharp swords on their backs stood on the beach, clustered around a high-ranking officer. At this moment, in the midst of the turbulent waves, a speedboat was connected to the tungsten wood vessel. Sir, the iron anchor is stuck in the reef. It's very difficult to get it out. A loud shout came from afar. Brothers, there's no way to get the iron anchor out. Tung Shan didn't simply drop the anchor. Instead, he dived to the bottom of the sea and used the iron anchor to get stuck in the reef. No matter how hard the others tried to lift the anchor, they couldn't get it out. Cut off the iron chain, cut it off. The high-ranking officer roared from the beach. Yes, sir. A voice came from afar. F***CK. The high-ranking officer cursed. He actually stopped so far away. I spent a lot of effort to get there, but the iron anchor is actually stuck in a reef. This high-ranking officer was indeed furious. He had been busy since the morning, but he still hadn't finished it. It had been almost 4 hours. Actually, he couldn't be blamed. Although the 9-rhythm treacherous current was the number 1 treacherous current closest to the beach and wouldn't make them helpless, it was still very troublesome. Not long after, the tungsten wood vessel, which had its iron anchor removed, quickly flowed along the seawater towards the beach and soon stopped on the beach. Sir, this is a good boat. There are many dents at the bottom of the boat, but it's not damaged. It must have collided with the reef many times, but it's not damaged at all. The soldiers who got off the boat were very excited. It's definitely a good boat. Even our military camp doesn't have such a good boat. Sir, I've never seen the wood of this boat before. It's not the wood on our island. Sir, there are many treasures in the cabin. They're all fist-sized gems that I've never seen before. The hundreds of soldiers on the beach suddenly became excited. On the deck of the tungsten wood vessel. Wow, such a big gem. The high-ranking officer held the fist-sized iron leaf fruit. Under the sunlight, it was somewhat translucent and dazzled his eyes. His face was full of excitement as he said, "Ha, brothers, we're rich. We're rich." Screech, a high-pitched bird cry, suddenly sounded. P.S. Today's 3 chapters have been updated. Tomato has already added 1 chapter, so there's still 2 chapters left. Tomato is working hard. Everyone, come and throw a monthly vote or recommendation vote. Right now, the ranking is rather dangerous. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.